Chapter 199. The next morning, Qin Feiyong walked out of the castle. After opening the second level of the Gate of Potential, he no longer copied the six-word divine formula. In addition, he refined the best qi-amassing pill. His cultivation speed had greatly increased. In just one night, his cultivation had improved a lot. Walking out of the attic, after taking a few deep breaths of fresh air, he turned his head to look at the balcony next door and smiled. Elder Shi, good morning. Although all the crises had been resolved now, Yin Nanshan still let Shi Zheng continue to protect him. Good morning. Shi Zheng smiled. Qin Feiyong smiled and said, I will have to trouble Elder to take us to the treasure pavilion later. Okay. Elder Shi nodded. Brother Feiyong. At this moment, Lin Yi walked out of the attic quickly. She was wearing a snow-white dress. Her cheeks were glowing, looking youthful and energetic. Did you sleep well last night? Qin Feiyong walked up and smiled. Lin Yi nodded and hugged Qin Feiyong's arm naturally. Fatso and Lu Hong followed and saw Lin Yi's dependence on Qin Feiyong. They couldn't help but shudder. Qin Feiyong turned his head and glanced at the smiling Lin Yi. He felt a little melancholy in his heart. He took out a potential pill and 2 flame phoenixes, handed them to Lu Hong and said, Send them to Ling Yunfei and Feng Ling Er. Okay. Lu Hong nodded. Then, Qin Feiyong took out a phantom pill and let Lin Yi consume it. After changing his appearance casually, he looked up at Shi Zheng and smiled. Elder Shi, sorry to trouble you. Shi Zheng got up and jumped down from the balcony. Then, he led Qin Feiyong and the other 2 and rushed outside. Brother Feiyong, where are we going? Lin Yi was puzzled. To the treasure pavilion. Qin Feiyong smiled and did not explain much. Not long after the 3 of them left the Martial King Hall, Lin Chang arrived at the entrance. Elder Chu stood in front of him and frowned. What are you doing here? Lin Chang was now considered a celebrity in Swallow City. However, his notoriety spread far and wide. Lin Chang bowed and said, I want to see my daughter. Sir, please make an exception. Your daughter isn't in the Martial Imperial Hall. Scram. Elder Chu said expressionlessly, Impossible. My daughter is with Qin Feiyong. If she isn't in the Martial King Hall, where else could she be? Could it be that Qin Feiyong is meddling in this? Lin Chang said furiously. Qin Feiyong is not only a top-grade alchemist, but also a martial arts genius who has unlocked his potential imprint. His future is limitless. As long as he says the word, the entire Yin City won't let you go. Is there a need to interfere? Scram. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Elder Chu shouted harshly. Lin Chang's body trembled. He glanced at the depths of the Martial Emperor Hall unwillingly, before turning around and leaving. A short while later, Xin Chang came again. As a result, he was also stopped outside by Elder Chu. Xin Chang's face sank and asked, Elder Chu, what do you mean by this? Elder Chu said indifferently, Last night, the Hall Master personally ordered to expel you from the Martial Emperor Hall, so you are no longer a disciple of the Martial Emperor Hall. You are not eligible to enter the Martial Emperor Hall again. Why? Is it just because I didn't join forces with Qin Feiyong and the others in the arena? Xin Chang's body and mind trembled as he roared again and again. He originally planned to enter the Martial Emperor Hall to inquire about Lin Yi's whereabouts, but he didn't expect to receive such bad news. The eldest prince even gave you the Overlord Fist. What else do you want to quibble about? Scram. My Martial Emperor Hall doesn't have a traitor like you. By the way, hand over your identity token. Elder Chu said faintly. Xin Chang took out the identity token and crushed it with force. He glanced at the Martial Emperor Hall with resentment, then turned and left without looking back. In an alley, seeing Xin Chang come in, Lin Chang hurriedly said, How is it? Did you find out? Xin Chang said gloomily, I was expelled from the Martial Emperor Hall. Then what should we do now? We only have 3 days. Lin Chang was burning with anxiety. Don't worry. I have an illusion pill here. I will disguise myself as another disciple and sneak into the Martial Emperor Hall. Wait for me here. Xin Chang took out an illusion pill, threw it into his mouth, and turned into a young man. He smiled coldly and walked toward the Martial Emperor Hall again. But when he entered the gate, Elder Chu appeared again and yelled, "Stop right there and hand over your identity token." And Shun Chang's body stiffened. He turned to look at Elder Chu and smiled. "Elder, it's me, Li Fei." Elder Chu smiled faintly. "I know it's you, but you have to take out your identity token and let me confirm it, because the Hall Master ordered that from today onwards, everyone who enters the Martial Emperor Hall will be strictly investigated." Shin Chang frowned. "Why do you want to do this? Isn't it because he is worried that someone will disguise as our Martial Emperor Hall's people and sneak in to harm Qin Feiyang?" Elder Chu shook his head and smiled bitterly. Right now, this Qin Feiyang was simply the Hall Master's favorite. He was afraid that he would melt in his mouth or fall in his hands. "So that's how it is." Shun Chang came to a realization and said with some difficulty, "Elder Chu, my identity token is in the cultivation room and I forgot to take it. Can you make an exception?" "Forgot to take it? When every new disciple enters the Martial Emperor Hall, I will tell them to bring it with them." "You've been in the Martial Emperor Hall for a few years. Why don't you remember this?" Elder Chu said angrily. "Elder, I didn't do it on purpose. It's because I left in a hurry that I forgot." Shun Chang lowered his head. "If that's the case, then use the Heaven's Eye Stone to test it. After all, this is the Hall Master's order. I don't dare to be careless." Elder Chu took out a Heaven's Eye Stone. "What?" Shun Chang was shocked. He even took out the Heaven's Eye Stone. What should he do now? "Elder, disciple suddenly remembered that there are still some things that I haven't finished. I'll go out again." He quickly found an excuse and turned to leave. Elder Chu frowned. Why did he feel that this person was a little abnormal today? "Stop right there." Suddenly, he let out an explosive roar. Actually, he was just testing. Shin Chang panicked and immediately fled crazily. There's indeed a problem. Elder Chu's gaze turned cold and his battle chi surged. He chased after him in a few steps and grabbed Shun Chang's arm, pressing it on the Heaven's Eye Stone. Buzz! The Heaven's Eye Stone immediately emitted a bright light. Shin Chang recovered his true appearance in the next moment. He panicked and hurriedly knelt on the ground, begging, "Elder, please spare my life. I just want to go in and take what belongs to me. I have no other intentions." "Humph!" Elder Chu snorted coldly and picked Shun Chang up like a little chick, walking towards the reception hall. Lin Chang, who was hiding in the alley, immediately fled in a panic. At the same time, Treasure Pavilion, VIP room. Manager Li and Jiang Jingyi were both there. Jiang Jingyi smiled. "Why are you looking for us so early?" Qin Feiyang said. "Where are Qing Zhu and Shuang Er?" Jiang Jingyi said, "They are at the auction house. Do you want to go and take a look?" "Forget it." Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. He turned his head to look at Yi and said with a faint smile, "I have something to discuss with the two seniors. You go and meet with them. Elder Shi, I'll have to trouble you to accompany her." Shijing nodded. Lin Yi looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously, but she did not ask much. She bowed to Jiang Jingyi and Manager Li and left the VIP room with Shijing. After Qin Feiyang turned around and closed the door, he walked to the coffee table and cupped his fist to Jiang Jingyi. "Senior, I want to ask you for a favor." "Say it." Jiang Jingyi said. Qin Feiyang said, "I want Qing Zhu and the others to take Yi to the Martial Imperial Hall in Star Moon City." "Why?" Jiang Jingyi and Manager Li looked at each other and looked at him in confusion. Isn't the Martial Imperial Hall in Yin City better? With this kid's achievements, as long as he asks, Yin Nanshan will definitely not refuse. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly and cupped his fist. "This is Junior's personal privacy. Please don't ask too much. Other young people are trying to hook up with beautiful girls, but you are desperately pushing them away. I really don't know what is in your head all day long." Jiang Jingyi shook his head speechlessly and nodded. "Okay. Anyway, I have to go to Star Moon City later. I will take Lin Yi along the way, but I have a condition." "What condition?" Qin Feiyang was overjoyed. With Jiang Jingyi accompanying him, there would definitely be no problem along the way. Jiang Jingyi was silent for a while and smiled. "Your relationship with Qin Xue seems to be unusual. If you have a chance, help me put in a few good words. If you can make her forgive me, I promise that you will benefit a lot." Qin Feiyang was stunned. He never thought that Jiang Jingyi would put forward this condition. Just when he wanted to ask the reason, Jiang Jingyi shook his head and said, "This is also my personal privacy. Don't ask too much." "Okay, I will try my best." Qin Feiyang nodded. "I like straightforward young people." Jiang Jingyi laughed heartily and then asked in puzzlement, "Kid, tell me, what's the name of the medicinal pill that you and the Wolf King took? Why have I never seen it before?" Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Potential pill. You have seen the effect of it. It is to open the door of potential." Manager Li asked brightly, "Is it refined from the medicinal herbs of the Nine Suns flower? If I say yes, won't you increase the price immediately?" Qin Feiyang sneered. Manager Li looked unhappy and said angrily, "Am I that kind of person? Don't worry, even if it's the Nine Suns flower, I will still sell it to you at the same price as before." Qin Feiyang glanced at him and said, "That's right. It's those 33 herbs." "I knew it." Manager Li slapped his thigh with a face full of anger. If he had known that those herbs could be refined into such a shocking medicinal pill, would he have sold it to Qin Feiyang for 40 million? Don't even think about it. That bastard was truly cunning. He kept it a secret and got such a huge bargain. "All right." Jiang Jingyi stood up and looked at Manager Li. "I'll have to trouble you here in Swallow City. Send me a message if there's anything." "You're leaving now?" Manager Li was stunned. "Yes." Jiang Jingyi nodded and looked at Qin Feiyang. "If you want to sell the potential pill, you have to go through my precious treasure pavilion. Otherwise, you won't even have the chance to get the herbs in the future." "All right." Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. Although Jiang Jingyi was domineering, he did have the qualifications. Chapter 200. Jiang Jingyi secretly left Yin City with Lin Yi, Luo Qingzhu, and Zhao Shuanger. This was requested by Qin Feiyang. He didn't want Lin Chong to harass Lin Yi again. Before leaving, Qin Feiyang handed the last flaming phoenix to Lin Yi. It took him a lot of effort to persuade Lin Yi to go to Star Moon City. After sending them away, Qin Feiyang did not stay in Treasure Pavilion and returned to Martial Lord Hall with Shi Zheng. As soon as he returned to Martial Lord Hall, Elder Chu told him about Xinchang. Law Enforcement Hall. Xinchang knelt on the ground with a pale face. In front, Elder Wan and the beautiful woman sat on the chair, looking at Xinchang intently. Their expressions were quite gloomy. Qin Feiyang walked into the hall, glanced at Xinchang, looked at Elder Wan, and asked, "Elder, did you get anything? Take a look at what this is." Elder Wan threw a blood-red token to Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang looked down, and his face changed abruptly. He said in surprise, "Blood-killing token? Where did you get it?" Elder Wan said, "I found it on him." Qin Feiyang turned to look at Xinchang and said gloomily, "How did you get the blood-killing token?" Elder Wan shook his head and said, "Don't ask. His mouth is very tight. He won't say anything. I really want to kill him now." "Very tight?" Qin Feiyang sneered and said, "Killing him is too easy for him. I will immediately refine a calamity spirit pill to abolish his cultivation and let him slowly enjoy the feeling of being bullied." Xinchang's eyes trembled and hurriedly said, "I really don't know why the blood-killing token is on me. I am innocent. Please believe me." As soon as Lin Chong left, you appeared. You even intended to sneak into Martial Lord Hall with the blood-killing token on you. Is this a coincidence? Do you believe it? Qin Feiyang pursed his lips with a hint of ridicule. Xinchang stammered. If it were him, he wouldn't believe it either. Qin Feiyang said, "I'll give you one last chance. Confess immediately." Xinchang shook his head. "I don't know. I don't know anything." Stubborn. Qin Feiyang took out the Chang Shui and grabbed Xinchang's hand. He smiled and said, "Let me tell you, I know a lot of ways to torture people. I guarantee that you will be satisfied. Now, I will chop your hand into pieces bit by bit." After that, Qin Feiyang raised the Chang Shui and mercilessly swung it down. Xinchang hurriedly said, I'll say. The blood slaughter token was given to me by a burly man in black." As expected of this brat, Elder Wan looked at each other and smiled. In fact, they had also thought of doing this, but due to their status, they could not do it. "Black-clothed man?" Qin Feiyang frowned and said, "I want to know everything." "Okay, Okay, okay, I'll tell you everything. How could Xinqiang dare to hesitate? Blood Slaughter Palace? Elder Wan and Elder Wan looked at each other, their faces filled with bewilderment. Qin Feiyong said in a deep voice, "Even the War Emperor has joined the Blood Slaughter Palace. It seems like this Blood Slaughter Palace is not simple." Elder Wan frowned. "Xinqiang, who are those two War Empress?" "I really don't know." Xinqiang shook his head. The beautiful woman said, "Such an important secret. A small fry like him definitely wouldn't know. However, the number of War Emperors in Yin City can be counted on one hand, so it won't be difficult to find out. There are indeed very few War Emperors in Yin City, but everyone is an old fox, so it's not that easy to find out." Qin Feiyong shook his head thoughtfully. Qin Feiyong is right. We have to take this matter slowly. We can't rush it. Elder Wan nodded. Qin Feiyong suddenly looked at the two of them, his eyes flashing. "Why are you looking at us? Are you suspecting us?" "Brat, this old man is telling you. Get rid of this idea as soon as possible. Otherwise, don't blame this old man for being ruthless." Elder Wan and Elder Wan's faces were full of anger. Qin Feiyong smiled bitterly. Indeed, he was overthinking. If these two were really from the Blood Slaughter Palace, they would have already attacked him. After all, he often spent time alone with these two, so there were plenty of opportunities. Qin Feiyong thought for a while and said, "Well, let's follow the vine and find the melon. First, we will find the black-clothed man. Anyway, they don't know that he has left Yin City." Elder Wan asked, "How?" Qin Feiyong looked at Elder Ji and said with a smile, "What they want is Yi, then we will give them Yi." Elder Ji frowned and said, "Don't tell me you want me to disguise myself as Lin Yi?" Qin Feiyong said, "Yes, I want to know the origin of this Blood Slaughter Palace. Don't you two want to know?" "This," Elder Ji said with some embarrassment, "I'm already so old. It's embarrassing for me to disguise myself as a young girl." "Haha," Elder One couldn't help but laugh. Xinqiang asked cautiously, "Qin Feiyong, I have said what I need to say. Can you let me go?" Qin Feiyong said, "One last question. How do you contact the black-clothed man?" Xinqiang shook his head and said, "I don't know. He said that he will take the initiative to come to us." Qin Feiyong waved his hand and said, "Well, you can go." "Are you really letting me go?" Xinqiang was taken aback. Elder Wan and Elder Wan were also a little stunned. However, just as Xinqiang was ecstatic and got up, Qin Feiyong held the Chang Shui in his hand and slashed Xinqiang's neck. Immediately, blood spurted out like a column. Xinqiang clutched his neck and looked at Qin Feiyong in disbelief. Qin Feiyong wiped the blood on the Chang Shui on Xinqiang's body and said indifferently, "I'm sorry, I'm not a benevolent person." Bang! As soon as he finished speaking, Xinqiang also fell to the ground and died. Elder One said, "Shizheng, come in and drag him out. Wipe the blood on the ground while you're at it." Shizheng, who was guarding outside the door, immediately ran in. The beautiful woman frowned and said, "Feiyong, I didn't see the black-clothed man. Why did you kill him now? There's no use in keeping such a person. Moreover, with his IQ, he will definitely be exposed when he sees the black-clothed man." Qin Feiyong took out a magic form pill and directly changed into Xinqiang's appearance. So that's how it is. Elder Wan and Elder Wan looked at each other and smiled. This kid was really cunning. This disciple has a plan. We'll find Fatso and Lu Hong, as well as Elder Chu, to put on a show together. Qin Feiyong smiled and said. The three of them discussed secretly in the law enforcement hall. Late at night, a figure quietly slipped out of the Martial Imperial Hall. It was Qin Feiyong. On Qin Feiyong's back, he was carrying an unconscious woman. The face was Lin Yi, but in fact, it was Elder Ji. She wasn't really unconscious. Elder Ji whispered, "Is this plan really going to work? How do you know if you don't try?" "Elder, don't make any more noise," Qin Feiyong whispered. Xinqiang didn't have an image crystal, so the black-clothed man couldn't contact him at all. The only explanation was that the black-clothed man was most likely monitoring near the Martial Imperial Hall. Even if the black-clothed man wasn't there, he would send someone else. Sure enough, after Qin Feiyong ran away with Elder Ji on his back, A black figure walked out of an alley with a trace of suspicion in his eyes. It was the black-clothed man. Strange. Didn't Lin Cheng say that Shun Chong was captured alive? Why did they capture Lin Yi now? Could it be a trap? The black-clothed man murmured secretly. But at this moment, Fatso and Lu Hong held torches and ran out of the martial imperial hall breathlessly. Both of them looked panicked. What are you doing? Elder Chu also walked out and looked at the two in confusion. Fatso asked, Elder, have you seen Lin Yi? Lin Yi? Elder Chu was taken aback and asked, Isn't she with you? Fatso said anxiously, Lin Yi is gone. Lu Hong also exclaimed, She went to rest early in the evening. But when I went upstairs to check just now, she was gone. If anything happens to Lin Yi, Qin Feiyong will definitely not spare us. Don't worry. I have been in the reception hall all the time. I didn't see Lin Yi come out. She may be somewhere to relax. Let's go and find her. Elder Chu said. All right. Fatso nodded. Immediately, the three entered the martial imperial hall and hid behind the reception hall. Elder Chu frowned and said, Do we need to do this? Obviously. The three of them were just acting before. Fatso smiled and said, Boss can't be wrong. There must be someone monitoring nearby. If we don't act this, the other party will be suspicious. Lu Hong smiled and said, Taking a step back, even if no one is monitoring, we won't lose anything. Elder Chu looked at the two in a daze and shook his head. Qin Feiyong, this kid, is really thoughtful. Of course, our boss is known as a cunning little fox. Fatso smiled proudly. Do you know how to talk? If you don't, then shut up. Lu Hong glared at him angrily. Both Fatso and Elder Chu are looking for Lin Yi. It should be true. I didn't expect this Shan Chong to be quite capable. In the alley outside, the black-shirt macho man muttered in a low voice, walked out of the alley, and chased after Qin Feiyong. Not long after, he saw Qin Feiyong and Elder Chu in front. However, he didn't go up immediately but followed behind the two from a distance. It was enough to see. He was a very suspicious person. The beautiful woman lay on Qin Feiyong's back and whispered, Qin Feiyong, I sense an aura behind us that has been following us. That means this person took the bait. Qin Feiyong whispered. The beautiful woman said, Do you want me to catch him now? Qin Feiyong whispered, It's better to be safe than sorry. Don't alert the enemy first. Wait for him to take the initiative to come up and confirm his identity. The street in the middle of the night was dead silent. The moonlight shone down, making everything appear hazy and hazy. The three of them, one in front and one behind, galloped on the street. After about half an hour, it shouldn't be a problem. The black-shirt macho man muttered and sped up. He stopped in front of Qin Feiyong and Elder Chu and frowned. Shin Chong, weren't you captured alive by Martial Emperor Hall? It must be him. Qin Feiyong stopped, and a cold light surged in his eyes. At the same moment, Elder Ji flicked his finger, and two battle auras broke through the air like lightning, passing through the legs of the black-shirt macho man. Two bloody holes suddenly appeared. Blood splattered. Puff. Chapter 201. Qin Feiyong put down the beautiful woman. The two walked in front of the black-clothed man with a smile on their faces. The black-clothed man endured the pain and said gloomily, Why did this happen? I'm sorry, Shun Chong is dead. Qin Feiyong smiled faintly. Dead? The black-clothed man was stunned and said in surprise, Then who are you? I don't have time to talk nonsense with you. Qin Feiyong looked at the beautiful woman and said, Elder, take him back first. Elder. The black-clothed man was shocked. He finally understood that this was a trap. However, the person who set this trap was too smart and put on a show for him. The beautiful woman grabbed the black-clothed man's clothes and twisted him up like a chick. She turned around and returned to the martial imperial palace. Whoosh! But just as she turned around, a sudden change occurred. A black arrow, like a poisonous snake bearing its fangs, pierced through the sky like lightning and went into the back of the black-clothed man's head and came out from between his eyebrows. Blood splashed in the sky. The black-clothed man died on the spot. Who? The beautiful woman was stunned. and then she suddenly shouted explosively as she grabbed Qin Feiyang and charged into the sky, and then she swept the surroundings with monstrous flames of rage. Qin Feiyang's face was also extremely gloomy. No matter how much they planned, they still failed in the end. It was really annoying. There was no one around. The two scanned the city below. They didn't find anyone suspicious. Qin Feiyang said regretfully, "Elder, there are too many hiding places below. I'm afraid we can't find them." The beautiful woman landed on the street with Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang immediately squatted on the ground and searched the black-clothed man's body. The beautiful woman also found the arrow. After looking for a moment, she said in a deep voice, "To dare to shoot this arrow under my nose, and to be able to do it silently, the strength of the person who shot the arrow is at least the same as mine." She then looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, "Did you find anything?" Qin Feiyang took out a Chinkuan bag and a blood-killing token. Next, he carefully checked the Chinkuan bag and shook his head at the beautiful woman. "There are no clues, not even the image crystal. It seems like this person is just a small fry. Let's go to that restaurant and see if Lin Chong is still there." The beautiful woman grabbed Qin Feiyang, turned into a stream of light, and quickly rushed to the restaurant. The restaurant was already closed, but he definitely couldn't stop the beautiful woman. The two of them directly broke through the door, but they did not find Lin Chong. Back at the Martial King Palace, the beautiful woman then ordered all the deacon elders to chase after Lin Chong. Jingxin Lake. Qin Feiyang walked into the loft. When Fatso and Lu Hong saw that his expression was not right, their hearts sank. Lu Hong asked, "Did you fail?" "No." Qin Feiyang shook his head, sat on the chair, rubbed his aching forehead and sighed. The plan was very successful, but the black-clothed man was assassinated. The two of them looked at each other, their eyes filled with disbelief. Qin Feiyang crossed his arms over his chest, leaned back against the chair, lowered his head, and frowned. Yin Nanshan, the beautiful woman, Elder One, it was definitely impossible. It was also impossible for Jiang Jingyi and Manager Li, because if it was one of them, Xinchong and Lin Chong would not know that Yi had already gone to the Star Moon City. Then, only the Danwang Hall, the royal family, and the Lin family's ancestor were left. These three forces all had deep grudges with him. Who could it be? Lu Hong obediently brewed a pot of fragrant tea for Qin Feiyang to refresh his mind and relieve his fatigue. Boom! Suddenly, a terrifying aura descended from the sky above the martial imperial palace. Qin Feiyang and the other two suddenly stood up, their eyes filled with bewilderment. Following that, the three of them ran out of the loft and stood by the lake, looking up at the sky. At that moment, their gazes trembled. Under the hazy moonlight, a white figure stood proudly in the sky. He was like a god that had descended to the mortal world. His aura was monstrous, shaking heaven and earth. So powerful. His aura is far more powerful than the palace masters. Fatso and Lu Hong could not help but tremble. It was not that they were timid, but the aura that the person exuded made them tremble instinctively. "Someone from the state capital," Qin Feiyang whispered. Although they could not see the person's face clearly, such a powerful aura could only belong to someone from the state capital. Fatso and Lin Chong were shocked. The state capital was the legendary holy land of martial arts. For insignificant people like them, it was something that did not exist at all. Even the big shots of the county of Yin might not have been to the state capital. Whoosh! At this moment, Yin Nanshan, Elder Wan, and the beautiful woman rushed into the sky and flew to the person, bowing and saying, "Greetings, sir." At the same time, the king of Yin, Patriarch Lin, Steward Li, and Ma Qing also flew into the sky. Their target was the Martial Imperial Hall. The person replied and asked, "Where is Qin Feiyang that you were talking about?" "Sir, please follow me." Yin Nanshan dove toward the soothing lake. Swoosh! The four of them landed by the lake one after another, in front of Qin Feiyang and the other two. The beautiful woman waved her hand, and a wave of battle chi appeared, condensing into a palm-sized light ball that illuminated the surroundings. Qin Feiyang finally saw the person's face clearly. It was a middle-aged man with a square face, thick eyebrows, and a black eye patch over his left eye. He was rather burly and wore a long black robe. He looked majestic, as if he could uproot mountains and rivers. Yin Nanshan urged, "Qin Feiyang, hurry up and greet Sir Wang Hong from the state capital." "He is indeed from the state capital." A cold light flashed in Qin Feiyang's eyes. He walked in front of Wang Hong and cupped his fists. "Disciple Qin Feiyang greets Sir." Wang Hong remained silent and sized up Qin Feiyang. Whoosh! At this moment, the king of Yin and the rest arrived and bowed. "Greetings, sir." Wang Hong nodded and waved his hand again. The few of them tactfully retreated to the side, their expressions extremely respectful. Wang Hong looked at Qin Feiyang for more than 10 breaths before asking, "Why is your surname Qin?" Yin Nanshan and the rest were stunned, a trace of doubt creeping into their eyes. However, Qin Feiyang's heart trembled. He tried to calm himself down and asked in confusion, "Sir, why do you ask?" Wang Hong said, "Qin is the national surname of the great Qin Empire. Your surname is Qin. Are you related to the imperial capital?" The imperial capital. Qin Feiyang's heart trembled and he smiled bitterly. "Sir, if I am related to the imperial capital, why would I be in the county of Yin?" Yin Nanshan smiled. "Sir, not everyone with the surname Qin is of the same bloodline as the emperor. You are thinking too much. Yes, my parents are just ordinary people. They have nothing to do with the imperial capital. I wish I was from the imperial capital. Unfortunately, it is just a dream." Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, "There were many people with the surname Qin in the 9 states and 18 counties. Although Qin was the national surname, it did not mean that people with the surname Qin were related to the imperial capital. Moreover, before the great Qin Empire was established, Qin was just a very ordinary surname." Wang Hong looked at Qin Feiyang for a moment and said calmly, "I am just asking. I came to the county of Yin this time because Yin Nanshan said that you have opened the 2nd level of the Gate of Potential. Is that true?" Qin Feiyang nodded. "Let me see it." Wang Hong's tone became excited. Qin Feiyang pulled open his clothes, and the black potential imprint was immediately exposed. "Good, very good. I did not expect the county of Yin to have a martial arts genius." Wang Hong was very excited. Yin Nanshan reminded, "Sir, his talent in alchemy is not bad." Yes. I almost forgot. Qin Feiyang, go and get ready. Follow me to the state capital." Wang Hong said. To the state capital. The king of Yin and the others trembled. He was only a 9-star martial master, and he was invited to the state capital. This was the first time in the world. They could not help but feel jealous, because even they had not been to the state capital. If the county of Yin was compared to the earth, the state capital was the sky. It was a supreme honor to be able to enter the state capital. However, Qin Feiyang hesitated. He definitely had to go to the state capital, but now was obviously not the time, because he was still too weak. The most important thing was that the governor of the state capital had gone to the capital to meet the emperor and saw him with his own eyes. Although 6 years had passed and his appearance had changed greatly, what if he was recognized? If he was still alive and his talent was far better than before, some people in the capital would not let him off if they knew about it. Therefore, he could not go to the state capital now. At this thought, Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and said, "I do not want to go to the state capital now. Please forgive me, sir." "What? Not going?" The king of Yin and the others froze. After living for so long, this was the first time they saw someone who did not want to go to the state capital. Was this kid stupid? That was the sacred ground of martial arts. It was a place that countless people dreamed of going to. Yin Nanshan said seriously, "Qin Feiyang, no matter what reason you have today, you have to go with Wang Hong." Qin Feiyang sighed. "Palace master, filial piety is the most important virtue." "What do you mean?" Yin Nanshan frowned. Qin Feiyang said sadly, "To be honest, my father passed away 2 years ago. On the day of his death, I swore in front of his grave that I would not leave the county of Yin for 5 years. If the emperor knew that Qin Feiyang said that he was dead, he would definitely fly into a rage on the spot and scold him for being an unfilial son." "Is there such a thing?" Yin Nanshan frowned. "Yes, I never lie." Qin Feiyang nodded. His face was not red, and his heart was not beating fast. Yin Nanshan looked at Wang Hong hesitantly. Wang Hong frowned and said in a low voice, "If you miss this opportunity today, you will have to rely on your own ability to go to the state capital in the future." He paused and said, "I might as well tell you the truth. There are dangers on the way to the state capital. Even a combat emperor may not survive. I am not afraid. Moreover, if I can't even do this, I am not qualified to enter the state capital," Qin Feiyong said firmly. "Are you sure?" Wang Hong frowned. "I am sure." Qin Feiyong nodded without hesitation. "All right, I will wait and see." After Wang Hong said that, he looked at Ma Cheng and the others and said coldly, "Yin Nanshan has told me what happened between you and Qin Feiyong. I do not want to say anything more. I only hope that you will take care of yourselves." "Yes." Ma Cheng and the others bowed and replied. Chapter 202. Even the people of the state capital had declared that they would protect Qin Feiyong. It seemed that he was going to be lawless in the county of Yin from now on. Qin Feiyong was also surprised. He thought that Wang Hong would be displeased if he refused. He did not expect that Wang Hong would not be displeased at all. Instead, he sounded the alarm for the king of Yin and the others. Wang Hong asked, "Has anything major happened in the county of Yin recently?" Qin Feiyong's heart skipped a beat. If he told Wang Hong about Zuoyan and the blood-slaying palace, he would be able to settle it easily. However, before he could speak, the king of Yin was the first to speak. "Thank you for your concern. But the county of Yin has been very peaceful recently. Nothing major has happened." Yin Nanshan and the others nodded. At the same time, Yin Nanshan even shook his head at Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows. What were these people thinking? Were they going to keep it a secret? Were they going to wait until things got out of hand? But now, he could not say anything, because if he told the truth, he would not only offend one person, but all the big shots in the county of Yin. Wang Hong looked at Qin Feiyong suspiciously and asked, "Do you have something to say?" The king of Yin and the others looked at Qin Feiyong with a hint of pleading in their eyes. Qin Feiyong hesitated for a moment and smiled. "I just want to ask, what is your cultivation level?" The king of Yin and the others heaved a sigh of relief. They could not help but have a good impression of Qin Feiyong. Everyone liked a sensible child. Wang Hong was stunned for a moment. Then, he shook his head and laughed. "You will know my strength when you enter the state capital. Since there is nothing else, I will go back." "Farewell, sir." The big shots present bowed and said. It was as if they could not wait for this person to leave. Wang Hong did not beat around the bush. He waved his hand and a stream of light shot out from his sleeve and into the sky. Then, under the shocked eyes of the crowd, a door of light appeared quickly. Wang Hong turned into a streak of light and shot into the door of light. The next moment, the door of light disappeared. Who? After this big shot left, the big shots all let out a long sigh of relief. The king of Yin took a step forward and smiled. "Qin Feiyong, thank you so much." "I'm fine." Qin Feiyong waved his hand and smiled. Manager Li chuckled and said, "In the future, please take care of me, brother Qin." Qin Feiyong smiled bitterly. "Humph, don't think that just because a sparrow flies to a branch, it can become a phoenix. I can let bygones be bygones, but in the future, it's best that you don't provoke the Danwang Hall." Ma Cheng shouted coldly and soared into the sky with a trace of disdain. Jia He and Elder He followed closely behind. The red-haired old man, the king of Yin, and Steward Li did not stay any longer. They soared into the sky and disappeared without a trace. Qin Feiyong retracted his gaze and looked at Yin Nanshan and the other two. He frowned and said, "Hall Master Elder, I can understand if you continue to hide it from us. But do you know that once this matter gets out of hand, you will be punished even more severely?" Yin Nanshan said, "So, we can't let this matter continue to fester." Qin Feiyong asked, "Hall Master, do you have any plans?" "You don't have to worry about this matter. Focus on your cultivation. We will think of a way." After Yin Nanshan finished speaking, he left hurriedly with the beautiful woman and Elder Wan. "I don't want to worry about this either," Qin Feiyong muttered as he looked at the backs of the three people. Lu Hong frowned and said, "Why didn't they report it?" They were afraid of being punished by the state government. 8 years ago, no, it should be 9 years ago now. They didn't report Zhuan's matter to the state government. If Zhuan is exposed today, the state government will definitely punish them. They can't bear this responsibility. Fatso sneered. Fatso is right. The blood spirit elixir was banned by the first emperor himself. This is not a joke. If we can get rid of Zhuan this time, this matter will be resolved. But if we can't, then they will be punished even more. Qin Feiyong said, I hope we can get rid of him. This way, we can have an easier time. Lu Hong sighed softly. Zhuan's existence was equivalent to a ticking time bomb to them. They did not know when it would explode. Fatso asked curiously, Boss, what was that door just now? It looked so magical. Qin Feiyong said faintly, that is a portal. It can teleport a person from Yin City to Black Bear City in an instant. There is no such thing in the county of Yin. That's awesome. Fatso and Lu Hong looked at each other in disbelief. Wait, boss, how did you know? Are you really from the imperial capital? Fatso was surprised. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed. He shouted, Do you have nothing better to do? Hurry up and find me the herbs for the potential elixir. Boss, you're a little guilty. Fatso snickered. Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes at him and said with a smile, All right, stop guessing. You will know my identity when the time comes. As for now, you must remember that I'm just an orphan from an ordinary family. Understood. Lu Hong nodded. Fatso, however, was deep in thought. Qin Feiyong glanced at Fatso and said meaningfully, People who are too smart often end up in a miserable state. Is the white-eyed wolf not back yet? Fatso smiled embarrassedly and shook his head. It's not wild enough. Why would it come back? Qin Feiyong said, When it comes back, tell it not to run around. Yin City might not be peaceful recently. The whereabouts of the people from Blood Slaughter Palace were secretive. No one knew where they were hiding. He did not want anything to happen to Wolf King. In the blink of an eye, 10 days passed. Boom. On this day, Qin Feiyong, who was cultivating by the lake, suddenly had a surge in his aura. His long hair danced in the wind, and the lake in front of him stirred up waves. After a while, the aura gradually faded, and the lake returned to its calm state. Whoosh! At this moment, Qin Feiyong opened his eyes and 2 beams of light shot out. The excitement on his face was undisguised. 10 days. He actually used only 10 days to enter the ranks of Martial Ancestor and become a 1-star Martial Ancestor. His speed was indeed different when he did not have to copy the 6-word divine formula. One had to know. No matter how talented one was, it would still take half a year. Such a speed could be said to be heaven-defying. Fatso ran out of the attic and said with a long face, Boss, are you going to let me live? He was also refining the supreme-grade chi-gathering pill, but he was only a 7-star martial master. It was really infuriating to compare oneself to others. Qin Feiyong smiled and said, Don't worry. When you open the door of potential, your speed will be several times faster than others. How is Ling Yunfei recently? Fatso said, He has also successfully opened the first level of the door of potential and is now cultivating in seclusion. Qin Feiyong was delighted. He took out a jade box and said, Send this potential pill to him as well. Let him open the second level of the door of potential before he breaks through to Martial Ancestor. Fatty said unhappily, Aren't you being a little too biased? Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes and said, How is the search for the potential pill's herbs going? Fatso said helplessly, 10 days have passed, and we have only gathered 1 set. It seems that there is not much left in the Yin County. Why don't we go somewhere else to take a look? Somewhere else? Qin Feiyong was stunned and frowned. You can't be thinking of going to another county? That's right. Fatso nodded and laughed. Fat Lord is asked around. Pan County is the closest to Yin County. If we go, we can reach there in 2 years at most. You can even think of that. Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes. The imperial capital was in charge of the 9 states and 18 counties, and the 9 prefectures were in charge of 2 counties. Pan County and Yin County were under the jurisdiction of the same prefecture, so the 2 counties were the closest to each other. However, instead of using these 2 years to travel, he might as well cultivate properly. Then what do you think we should do? You want the herbs and don't want to run away. How can there be such a cheap thing in the world? Fatso said. Qin Feiyong frowned. Fatso was telling the truth. After all, he still needed a lot of potential pills in the future. If he didn't think of a way earlier, he really couldn't. But he really didn't want to go to Pan County. It was troublesome. At this time, Shi Zhang strode to the calm Heart Lake. These days, he had been outside, helping to look for Lin Chong. Qin Feiyong stuffed the jade box into Fatso's hands and hurriedly went up to him, asking, "Elder, how is it? Have you found Lin Chong?" "No." Shi Zhang shook his head and said in a deep voice, "The guards of the city didn't see him leave the city either. We all suspect that he might have been hidden by someone. The two battle emperors who joined the Blood Slaughter Palace are nowhere to be found either." Qin Feiyong frowned. Shi Zhang glanced at Qin Feiyong and said, "There's one more thing." "What?" Qin Feiyong was puzzled. Shi Zhang hesitated and said, "When you hear this, don't be too anxious." Qin Feiyong's eyelids twitched and he frowned. "What is it?" Shi Zhang exhaled and said, "Wolf King is missing." "What?" Qin Feiyong's body trembled. Fatso's expression changed and he asked, "When did this happen?" "Yesterday," Shi Zhang said. "Last night, the guards guarding the city saw Wolf King leave Yin City and go deep into the mountains. He hasn't come back yet, so I'm worried about his safety." "Damn it, this ruffian wolf. I told him not to run around. Why didn't he listen?" Qin Feiyong was furious on the spot, but he was extremely anxious in his heart. The mountains outside the city were full of fierce beasts. Not to mention Wolf King. Even a battle king would not dare to set foot in there. If he didn't return for an entire night, it meant that Wolf King was most likely dead. He shuddered and hurriedly said, "Fatso, remember to give the potential pill to Ling Yunfei. Elder Shi, quickly bring me to the city gate. I want to ask the guards." Shi Zhang comforted. "Don't worry, maybe he just went crazy outside the city and forgot the time." "Impossible. Although he likes to fool around, he definitely won't stay out all night." "Hurry up," Qin Feiyong urged. Shi Zhang's heart trembled. This was the first time he saw Qin Feiyong so flustered. Without further ado, he quickly left Calm Lake with Qin Feiyong. What happened? At this time, Lu Hong jogged out of the loft, looking at Fatty in surprise and bewilderment. Fatso said, "Brother Wolf is missing. Boss is going to be angry. How could this be?" Chapter 203. At the city gate, Qin Feiyong's arrest warrant had been torn down 10 days ago, for guards were strictly interrogating every person who entered and left the city. "It's Qin Feiyong. What is he doing here?" The crowd that was waiting in line outside the city to be checked suddenly became restless. Their eyes were fixed on the streets of the city. After a while, Shi Zhang brought Qin Feiyong to the front of the 4 bodyguards. "Greetings, young Master Qin." Everyone saluted, including the 4 guards. Qin Feiyong nodded to everyone and asked the 4 guards, "Where did Wolf King go last night?" "That way." One of the guards pointed to the mountains on the left. Qin Feiyong raised his head and looked into the distance. He saw mountains and towering ancient trees. He could faintly hear the loud roars of beasts. He looked at the 4 guards again and said in a deep voice, "Before Wolf King left Yin City, did anyone else leave the city?" "Many people left, but we have checked all of them. No one is suspicious." The 4 guards shook their heads. Qin Feiyong looked at the mountains again. His eyes flickered. Suddenly he said, "Elder Shi, I want to go to the mountains." "No." Shi Zhang did not say another word and directly refused. The 4 guards and the surrounding crowd also hurriedly persuaded him. It was too dangerous to go deep into the mountains. "I have to go." Qin Feiyong's eyes were firm, but just as he took a step forward, "Let's go. Someone is flying over." Someone exclaimed. Everyone looked in the direction of the voice and saw a stream of light streaking across the sky, flying towards Yin City. Even before the person arrived, a terrifying aura had already surged toward Zhangxian, covering the entire area. Everyone present felt as if they had fallen into an invincible abyss. An indescribable fear filled their hearts. "It's really flying. Who are they? Why have I never seen them before?" Everyone turned pale with fright. Qin Feiyong also frowned. It was an old person and a young person. The old person was an old woman. Her body was bent. He held an eagle head crutch in his hand. He was wearing a dark green robe, and his face was wrinkled. However, her eyes were like a pair of eagle eyes, emitting a sharp light. The younger one was a young girl, about 15 or 16 years old. Her tall and slender figure was exquisite. Her exquisite face was like a work of art. Her light green dress made her look sweet and elegant. These were two unfamiliar faces that had never appeared before. However, what surprised Qin Feiyong was that the green-robed old woman's aura was in no way inferior to Elder Wan's. Elder Shi, is she the Battle Emperor of Star Moon City? Qin Feiyong asked in a low voice. He had met all the combat emperors in Yin City. Only the Battle Emperor of Star Moon City was someone he had yet to meet. No. Elder Shi shook his head. No? Qin Feiyong was stunned. If she wasn't from Yin City or Star Moon City, then where did this green-robed old lady come from? Shi added. I've never seen them before either. What? This time, Qin Feiyong was bewildered. Shi was a 9-star battle king. He knew all the experts in Yin County like the back of his hand. Even he had never seen them before. Could it be that they were some hidden experts? However, looking at their attire, they didn't look simple at all. They didn't look like hidden experts either. Whoosh! An old man and a young man landed in front of the city gate. Bang! At that moment, a terrifying battle emperor's aura rushed out of the green-robed old woman's body like a tide, oppressing the crowd with an overwhelming force. Plop! More than half of the people knelt on the ground on the spot. Less than half of the people struggled for a moment before kneeling down as well. Even Shi Zheng's legs couldn't help but tremble. He gritted his teeth and persevered. His face was almost distorted. Did they come with ill intentions? Qin Feiyong frowned. Standing steadily in front of the city gate, his legs didn't tremble at all. It was as if he didn't feel the Battle Emperor's aura at all. He had been by the Emperor's side since he was young. He wasn't even afraid of the Emperor's aura, let alone the Battle Emperor's aura. In the entire Great Qin Empire, the Emperor was probably the only one who could make him kneel with just one aura. The green-robed old woman and the green-robed girl both looked at Qin Feiyong and seemed to be a little surprised. Qin Feiyong indifferently glanced at the two of them. He directly walked past them and ran towards the depths of the mountain. Qin Feiyong, you can't go. Shi Zheng growled. Qin Feiyong? The green-robed girl and the green-robed girl were stunned. They turned to look at Qin Feiyong's back with a strange light in their eyes. You, stop right there. The green-robed girl spoke. Her voice was very pleasant, like an oriole flying out of the valley. Her voice was clear and elegant. However, her attitude was a little arrogant. What's the matter? Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows and turned to look at the girl. The green-robed girl said, You're Qin Feiyong who's been very popular in Yin County recently? Boring. Qin Feiyong turned around. The green-robed girl raised her eyebrows. She seemed to be very uncomfortable with the feeling of being ignored. Princess, don't worry. You'll have to fight with him sooner or later. The green-robed old woman withdrew her aura and said with a hoarse voice, You're right. The green-robed girl nodded. Princess? Shi Zheng wiped the sweat on his forehead and looked at the two suspiciously. He then chased after Qin Feiyong. The green-robed old woman also entered Yin City with the green-robed girl. The 4 guards looked around, not knowing what to do, because they also heard the word princess. Only the daughter of the Duke was qualified to be called a princess. But the Duke of Yin didn't have a daughter, right? In the end, 2 of the guards ran into the city and followed behind the green-robed boy and the green-robed girl to prevent them from messing around in Yin City. At the same time, Shi Zheng also caught up with Qin Feiyong. He grabbed him and said angrily, Why are you so insensible? Is the mountain somewhere you can go? I can't leave the white-eyed wolf alone, and I suspect that it must have found something and left Yin City, Qin Feiyong said in a low voice. Shi Zheng frowned. Finally, he gritted his teeth and nodded. Okay, I'll go with you. Just as he finished speaking, he suddenly raised his head and looked at the forest in the distance. There was a trace of surprise in his eyes. He saw a white wolf covered in injuries running out of the forest. Who else could it be but Wolf King? Shizhong said in surprise. Look, it's Wolf King. Qin Feiyang suddenly turned around and his face was filled with ecstasy. But then, his face was filled with anger. When the Wolf King ran closer, he kicked it without saying a word and roared, "Why did you run so deep into the mountains? Do you know how worried I was?" Wolf King got up in a sorry state. He bared his teeth and his eyes were fierce. Obviously, he was very angry. But when he heard this, the anger in his heart disappeared in an instant. He smiled and said, "I'm sorry. It won't happen again." Qin Feiyang said angrily, "If there's a next time, I'll skin you and chop you into stew." Wolf King said, Okay, do as you wish. But I have my reasons. Last night, I saw the Lin family's ancestor sneaking out of Yin City, so I followed him to take a look." Qin Feiyang said, "Even so, you should have told us in advance. It's dangerous for you to run out alone." Wolf King said impatiently, "It's okay. Look, I'm fine." Qin Feiyang glared at him and said with a frown, "You said that the Lin family's ancestor sneaked out of Yin City last night?"
Yes.
What's more strange is that he didn't fly. He walked all the way out of the city gate. Wolf King said. Qin Feiyang's heart skipped a beat. The Lin family's ancestor was a war emperor and was not bound by the rules. But why did he walk? Wasn't this too strange? Qin Feiyang said, "No, he's a war emperor. Didn't he notice that you were following him? Do you think I'm stupid? Brother Wolf went there by following the scent. He was very far away. But I lost him not long after. Originally, I wanted to come back and tell you immediately, but I met a few fierce beasts on the way and almost died," Wolf King said helplessly. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes and took out a top-grade healing pill. He stuffed it into Wolf King's mouth and said angrily, "Let's see if you dare to run out alone in the future." Wolf King said angrily, "Brother Wolf is risking his life to track you. Shouldn't you say thank you? And you're so long-winded. Aren't you annoying?" Qin Feiyang was so angry that smoke came out of his head. "Fine. Thank you, Lord Wolf." Humph. After saying that, he turned around and walked toward the city gate. "What are you talking about?" Shizhong looked at the man and the wolf in confusion. Qin Feiyang said in a low voice, "I want to go to the Lin family to confirm something." "Go to the Lin family?" Wolf King was shocked. He hurried to catch up with Qin Feiyang and said, "We can't go to the Lin family. If the Lin family's ancestor really has a problem, won't we be killed by him if we ask? So even if we want to go, we should ask Elder Wan and the others to go with us." "I know what to do," Qin Feiyang replied, his eyes shining. When they arrived at the city gate, Qin Feiyang looked at the two guards and said with a smile, "Brothers, did any big shots leave Yin City last night?" "Big shots?" The two thought for a moment. "The Lin family's ancestor left. But you know his identity and strength. We don't dare to interrogate him." He didn't say a word and left directly. "What? Is there a problem with him?" The two guards looked at Qin Feiyang in confusion. "No, I'm just asking." Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Did he come back?" "I didn't see him come back. But a strong man like him might not necessarily go through the city gate. It's possible that he flew into the city from other directions." The two guards said, "Thank you, brothers." Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and smiled. Then he led Wolf King and Shizhong into the city. Wolf King said telepathically, "Little Qin Zi, there's something wrong with those guards." "What do you mean?" Qin Feiyang asked calmly. Wolf King said, "Brother Wolf clearly saw them whispering to the Lin family's ancestor for a while last night. But they just said that the Lin family's ancestor didn't say a word. Don't you think it's strange?" "Why would they lie?" Qin Feiyang frowned. 2 hours later, 2 people and 1 wolf arrived at the gate of the Lin family. "Greetings, young Master Qin." The 2 servants guarding the door immediately bowed and saluted. "I have something to see your ancestor. Please inform him." Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and smiled. Chapter 204. Ancestor? The 2 servants were stunned. "Young master, please wait a moment," one of them said respectfully and quickly turned around and ran into the gate. Soon, someone came out. But it was not the ancestor of the Lin family, it was Lin Han. Glancing at the two people and the wolf, Lin Han looked coldly at Qin Feiyong and asked, I heard that you want to see the ancestor? What's the matter? Qin Feiyong said, There is a little matter. Lin Han said, Just tell me if you have something to say. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed slightly, and he sighed. That day at the wedding ceremony of the first prince and Yi, I did go a little too far, so I specially prepared 2 top-grade red fire glass pills to give to Senior Lin to apologize to him in person. Lin Han was surprised. Is there something wrong with this person's head? Qin Feiyong cupped his hands and said, I'm sincerely here to apologize and take a look at Lin Hua's injuries. If there is anything I can do to make up for it, Patriarch Lin can just say it. The two servants looked at each other. Was this still the arrogant and conceited Qin Feiyong? They really wanted to go up and see if Qin Feiyong was wearing a human skin mask on his face. Was it someone else's disguise? Lin Han said, The ancestor is cultivating and has no time to receive you. If you are really sincere, just give me the top-grade red fire glass pill. This, Qin Feiyong hesitated, but he was thinking in his heart. If the ancestor of the Lin family was cultivating in seclusion, then who was the ancestor of the Lin family that Wolf King saw? Strange. It was really strange. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed slightly, and he took out the top-grade red fire glass pill that he had prepared and handed it to Lin Han. Lin Han was a little stunned. He actually gave him the pill? Qin Feiyong said with a faint smile, It's better to squash enmity than keep it alive. I hope that the grudge between us can be written off. Written off? Lin Han immediately glared at him and said, Bailey is my favorite son. You killed him. This hatred is irreconcilable. How can 2 pills solve it? Since he's not coming back to life, I can only apologize. However, if you think that you can push your luck just because I lowered my head and apologized, then you are gravely mistaken. I just want to make myself feel more at ease. I'm not really afraid of your Lin family. That's all I have to say. Family head Lin, whether we're friends or foes in the future, it's all up to you. Qin Feiyong said, To deal with such people, one had to use both the carrot and the stick. Otherwise, he might think that you're afraid of him if you use soft tactics. Lin Han clenched his fists, his expression dark. Sincerity, he was indeed sincere. However, this kind of attitude made him very unhappy. At this moment, accompanied by a faint laugh, a red-haired old man walked out. It was the Lin family's patriarch. He's really here. Qin Feiyong's mind was in a mess. The Lin family's patriarch smiled and said, Lin Han, little brother Qin is already so sincere, yet you're still harping on the past. Don't you think that our Lin family is too petty? But, Lin Han frowned. All right, don't say anything else. The Lin family's patriarch waved his hand, looked at Qin Feiyong, and said with a smile, I'll make the decision. From now on, the grudges between us are severed. Qin Feiyong said with a smile, Senior Lin is indeed an open-minded and magnanimous person. Lin Han, hurry up and accept it. The Lin family's patriarch said unhappily, Yes. Lin Han responded respectfully and took the 2 supreme-grade red fire-colored glass pills. The Lin family's patriarch said, Little brother, why don't you have a seat inside? Since the grudges have been resolved, I won't disturb you anymore. Goodbye. Qin Feiyong cupped his hands and said, In that case, I won't force you to stay. Take care. I won't see you out. The Lin family's patriarch said with a smile. Qin Feiyong turned around and strode away. Wolf King and Shi Zheng hurriedly followed. You actually took the initiative to apologize? What kind of wind is blowing today? Shi Zheng also looked at Qin Feiyong in disbelief. This was simply a dream. When did this man become so low-key? Qin Feiyong didn't seem to hear it. He lowered his head and frowned tightly. A moment later, he asked, White-eyed Wolf, are you sure it was the Lin family's patriarch you saw last night? Wolf King said angrily, You're talking nonsense. Brother Wolf is not blind. Besides, didn't those guards also see it? Qin Feiyong said, Then why was the Lin family's patriarch at home? Wolf King said, Maybe he has already come back? Is that really the case? Qin Feiyong frowned, feeling that something was wrong. Moreover, why did those 4 guards lie? Wolf King suddenly said, Little Qin Zi, Do you think it's possible that the Lin family's patriarch that Brother Wolf saw last night was impersonated by someone else? Impersonation. Qin Feiyang's eyes trembled. Yes. Why didn't he think of it? Qin Feiyang patted Shizheng on the shoulder and said with a faint smile, Elder, let me invite you to the Flying Phoenix house for a drink. Drink? Shizheng was stunned and became more and more confused. What was this kid trying to do? More than 2 hours later, 2 people and a wolf came to the Flying Phoenix house, ordered a few dishes and 2 pots of good wine, sat in a private room, and chatted. Until late at night, Qin Feiyang put down the wine glass and said with a smile, Elder, I'm going to do something. Wait for me here. What's the matter? Shizheng frowned. Right now, he really wanted to pry open Qin Feiyang's head and take a look at what was inside. He had been mysterious all day. Qin Feiyang said, Wait for me to come back. White-eyed wolf, let's go. Before Shizheng could react, a man and a wolf had already left the private room. There was no one on the street. Wolf King glanced around and said suspiciously, Little Qinzi, are we going to the city gate? Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Soon, the city gate came into their sight. Sure. Qin Feiyang made a gesture to Wolf King to keep quiet. Then, a man and a wolf quietly came to the city gate, but did not go out. They hid behind the city gate and looked at the 4 guards outside. A moment later, Qin Feiyang led Wolf King into the castle. Little Qinzi, what are you doing? Wolf King was puzzled, waiting for the hare to come. Qin Feiyang said, Will this work? Wolf King asked. If the ancestor of the Lin family last night was really someone else in disguise, then he should come back. Qin Feiyang said with uncertainty, How long do we have to wait? After Wolf King said that, he laughed and said, Why don't you wait here, and Brother Wolf will drink with Shizheng. Qin Feiyang's veins suddenly jumped and he said angrily, You are a wolf. Why do you want to drink? I tell you, don't even think about it. If he doesn't come back tonight, we will continue to wait until he appears. Who said wolves can't drink? Wolf King disdained. Qin Feiyang was too lazy to talk nonsense with him and listened carefully to the movements outside. Time passed by. About 4 hours passed. In the jungle outside the city, a black shadow came out. It was the ancestor of the Lin family. He was very fast, and in a few blinks of an eye, he came to the city gate. Greetings, Lord Lin. The 4 guards bowed and saluted. Yes, the ancestor of the Lin family nodded. He's here. Qin Feiyang's eyes lit up. Now he could finally confirm that this ancestor of the Lin family was a fake. Brother Wolf is getting sleepy from waiting. Wolf King yawned at the side, looking listless. Outside, one of the guards asked doubtfully, Lord Lin, where have you been all day? Why are you only back now? The ancestor of the Lin family smiled and said, I went to take care of some personal matters. Finished. He was about to enter the city. The guard hurriedly said, Lord Lin, can you reconsider the matter that we asked you for last night? The ancestor of the Lin family frowned and said, Isn't it good to be here? What's good about it? I'm so busy every day that I don't even have time to cultivate. Lord Lin, please help us. The 4 guards looked at him pleadingly. The ancestor of the Lin family pondered for a moment, then nodded and said, All right, when this old man goes to the palace, I will tell Commander Su to transfer you away and replace you with someone else to guard the city gate. Thank you, Lord Lin. The 4 guards quickly bowed and thanked him. In the castle, hearing these words, Qin Feiyang's face was filled with a bitter smile. This was the reason why the 4 of them lied. He originally thought that the 4 of them were in cahoots with the ancestor of the Lin family. It turned out that he was just thinking too much. However, these 4 guards would never have thought that the person standing in front of them was just an imposter. Outside, the ancestor of the Lin family strode into the city. But suddenly, he turned back and asked the 4 of them, Did anything happen in Yin City today? Yes. An old man and a young man came this morning. They were both unfamiliar faces. The old man is very strong, almost comparable to you, Lord Lin. That young girl seems to be some princess. They are both in the martial imperial palace. The 4 guards said, Princess? The ancestor of the Lin family was puzzled. When did Yin City have a princess? One of the guards said, There's another small matter. The Wolf King by Qin Feiyang's side also went deep into the mountains last night and only came back during the day. Last night? The ancestor of the Lin family asked. When? The guard thought for a moment and said, Not long after you left, it followed you out. What? The ancestor of the Lin family's expression changed slightly. Why did that wolf leave the city? He asked. After it left the city, which direction did it go? The guard said, It seems to be in the same direction as you. How can it be so coincidental? The ancestor of the Lin family frowned and said, What happened after that? After that, when Wolf King came back, Qin Feiyang came to ask us if there were any big shots who left Yin City last night. That guard gave a detailed account of the situation at that time. After listening, the ancestor of the Lin family frowned deeper and deeper. Was this really just a coincidence? But wasn't it too much of a coincidence? All right, I'll go back first. You guys watch carefully and don't let anyone suspicious sneak in. After saying this to the four of them, the ancestor of the Lin family turned around and entered the city, quickly disappearing at the end of the street. Not long after, Qin Feiyang and Wolf King appeared out of thin air. Qin Feiyang urged, Hurry up and smell. Where did he go? This was his purpose for leaving Wolf King behind. Wolf King chuckled and said, Brother Wolf wants to see what kind of a mortal dares to pretend to be the ancestor of the Lin family. Follow Brother Wolf. It sniffed with its nose, called out to Qin Feiyang, and ran towards the street ahead. Chapter 205. After tracking for a while, Wolf King suddenly said, Little Qin Z, the other party's speed is too fast, and the smell is about to dissipate. So fast? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Wolf King said, According to Brother Wolf's speculation, that person's speed is faster than Shi Zhang's. What? Qin Feiyang turned pale with fright. Shi Zhang is a 9-star battle king. If he is faster than Shi Zhang, isn't he a battle emperor? No. I have to think of a way quickly. If I lose him, then today's efforts will be in vain. Soon, he had an idea. While running, he took out the image crystal and quickly activated it. An illusionary figure appeared. It was Manager Li. After Lin Yi and others left Yin City, he established a contract bridge with Manager Li. The reason why he contacted Manager Li was that Manager Li was in the West District and could rush over as soon as possible. Boss Jiang, no, I should call you Boss Qin now. You contacted me in the middle of the night. Do you want to talk about ideals with me? Or about feelings? Talking about ideals, I will accompany you to the end. But if you want to talk about feelings, I am really powerless. Go find your little beauties. Manager Li teased. Qin Feiyang's face twitched and he said, I am not in the mood to talk nonsense with you now. I am on the main road of the West District now. Come and help me. Remember to restrain your breath. You are in the West District? Manager Li was taken aback and said, Wait for me. I will come to you right away. After saying that, the phantom dissipated. In less than 10 breaths, Manager Li found Qin Feiyang and landed silently beside him. He frowned and said, Why are you here in the West District in the middle of the night instead of sleeping? Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice, I found a fake Lin family's old ancestor. White-eyed Wolf is tracking him, but the other party is too fast, and his smell is about to disappear. So I asked you for help. Fake. Manager Li's pupils contracted, and he looked at Wolf King and said, You are responsible for pointing out the direction, and I will take you to chase. After saying that, he swept up the man and the wolf and flew away according to Wolf King's instructions. A moment later, they came to a broad crossroad. This was the intersection of the 4 districts. Similarly, the fact that the Lin clan's imposter was here meant that the truth of which faction he came from would soon be revealed. Qin Feiyang and Manager Li both became inexplicably nervous. Wolf King sniffed hard and said with a sinister smile, That person went to the South District. Their pupils shrank. The South District was the Danwang Hall. This meant that the imposter was from Danwang Hall. Manager Li's face was gloomy as he led the man and wolf towards the Danwang Hall. Several dozen breaths later, the Danwang Hall finally came into view. However, they didn't go over and hid in a dark place. Wolf King said, The scent has gone to the Danwang Hall. Manager Li said in a low voice, Little guy, This is not a joke. You have to confirm it. Wolf King said angrily, Nonsense. Brother Wolf's nose has never been wrong. Well, let's go find Ma Cheng and ask him. Manager Li's old eyes flashed coldly. We can't go now. Qin Feiyong hurriedly grabbed him and shook his head. Manager Li looked at him in confusion. Qin Feiyong continued. Although we already know that the person impersonating the Lin clan's ancestor is someone from the Pill Emperor Hall, we have yet to see his true face. If we go and interrogate him now, they would definitely deny it. Yes, look at my head. I was so anxious that I even forgot about this. Manager Li slapped his forehead hard and looked a little angry. Fortunately, this guy reminded him. Otherwise, he would have alerted the enemy. However, this guy's temperament really made people look at him in a new light. After pondering for a while, Qin Feiyong said again, Judging from the speed, Ma Cheng can be excluded. Why? Wolf King asked. Because Ma Cheng's strength is on par with Yin Nanshan, and his speed is much faster than Manager Li. If it is really him, we can't track him at all. Therefore, we can lock the target on Jia He and Elder He. Qin Feiyong said. Manager Li nodded and said with a smile, Leave the task of investigating them to me. Then I'll have to trouble Manager Li. Qin Feiyong clasped his hands and said with a smile, When I go back, I will immediately tell the Palace Master and the Martial King Hall and Jinbao Pavilion. I believe it won't take long for them to find out the truth. The Wolf King asked suspiciously, Do you think that the man who pretended to be the ancestor of the Lin family is one of the 2 combat emperors who joined the Blood Slaughter Palace? It's possible. But before the truth comes to light, we can't jump to conclusions. Manager Li shook his head with a trace of worry on his face. Although Yin City looked calm on the surface, it was actually full of undercurrents. That's right. Qin Feiyong nodded and said to Manager Li with a smile, Please take us to the Flying Phoenix Pavilion. After meeting up with Shi Zheng, Qin Feiyong didn't stay any longer and quickly returned to the Martial King Hall. The Disciplinary Hall. After listening to Qin Feiyong's explanation, Elder Wan and Elder Li were also surprised. After discussing for a while, Qin Feiyong stood up and prepared to leave. Wait, I have something to tell you. The beautiful woman stopped him and said with a serious face, There are 2 important guests at the Soothing Lake. You have to restrain Fatso and Wolf King. Important guests? Qin Feiyong was surprised and asked, Is it that princess? You know? Elder Wan and Elder Li were surprised. Qin Feiyong said, I ran into them yesterday morning outside the city. Who are they? Elder Wan said, They are from Pan County. That girl is King Pan's daughter, Xia Qianqian. As for the old witch, she is the disciplinary elder of Pan County's Martial King Hall. Old witch? Qin Feiyong, the Wolf King, and Shi Zheng couldn't help but be stunned. Ahem. The beautiful woman let out a dry cough and reminded, Old Wan, mind your image. That's just how I am. I speak my mind. If I'm unhappy, I'm unhappy. Elder Wan snorted. The beautiful woman smiled bitterly and waved her hand. You can leave now. Remember not to cause trouble. Okay. Qin Feiyong nodded. After they left the disciplinary hall, Shi Zheng shook his head and said, It seems that those 2 are not guests of Yin County. Wolf King smiled slyly. Say, wouldn't it be cool if the princess of Pan County became Brother Wolf's follower? Follower? Qin Feiyong and Elder Li looked at each other, veins popping on their foreheads. Soothing Lake. Qin Feiyong stood at the end of the bridge and looked at the attic on the opposite side. The 3rd attic. A faint candlelight shone through a window on the 2nd floor. Shi Zheng looked down at Wolf King and said in a deep voice, I'll tell you one more time. Don't do anything rash. Along the way, he had said this at least a dozen times. He was really worried. That was because this ruffian wolf was too much of a jerk. He might really do something stupid. So annoying. Wolf King rolled his eyes at him, turned around, and ran to the other side of the river. Shi Zheng looked at Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong also looked helpless. Back at the attic, Fatso and Lu Hong did not cultivate or rest. They sat at the coffee table, looking uneasy. Seeing that Wolf King had returned safely, the 2 of them finally breathed a sigh of relief. Fatso hurriedly went to Wolf King and said with a flattering smile, Brother Wolf, please sit. What do you want? Let me tell you, Brother Wolf is very pure. Don't try to taint Brother Wolf. Wolf King looked at him warily. Qin Feiyong had just taken a sip of tea and spat it out. Lu Hong couldn't help but cover her mouth and laugh. Fatso's face darkened and he said angrily, "What are you talking about? Is Fat Lord that kind of person? Fat Lord just wants to ask if you found any treasure and went outside the city." Wolf King rolled his eyes and nodded. "You're so smart. Brother Wolf did find a lot of treasures. One of them is a pig." Pig? Fatso was stunned. A pig was considered a treasure? Could it be a mutated divine pig? Lu Hong burst out laughing. Wasn't Fatso usually very smart? Why was he so stupid now? Was he the one Wolf King was talking about? Sure enough. As the saying goes, the devil is tin. Facing the shameless Wolf King, Fatso's ability was not enough. Seeing the expressions of Qin Feiyong and Lu Hong, and then looking at the teasing look in Wolf King's eyes, Fatso suddenly came to a realization. Could it be that the pig Wolf King was talking about was him? His face instantly turned livid. It seemed that he was about to make a scene. Ahem. Qin Feiyong coughed and said with a faint smile, Okay, let me tell you something." "What is it?" Lu Hong was puzzled. Fatso sat on the chair and stared at Wolf King. Qin Feiyong told him about the fake ancestor of the Lin family. "There's such a thing?" Fatso's eyes widened, full of disbelief. It turned out that Wolf King did not run out of the city because he wanted to play. Lu Hong said, "This is a breakthrough." After spending so much time with Qin Feiyong and the others, her mind was also more flexible than before. Qin Feiyong said, "So for the next period of time, don't leave the Martial Imperial Hall. The plan to capture Yi has failed. I'm worried that the people of the Blood Slaughter Palace may attack you again. I've just settled the grudges with the major forces, and now the Blood Slaughter Palace comes out. There's really no end to it." Lu Hong sighed deeply and asked, "Should we continue to distribute the pills?" Fatso said with heartache, "Fat Lord thinks that there's no need to distribute them. After all, it's all money." "No." Qin Feiyong shook his head decisively and said, "If we stop the distribution now, it's tantamount to burning the bridge after crossing the river. I can't do that. Continue to distribute the pills. Anyway, healing pills and bone-replenishing pills are not worth much." Fatso frowned and said helplessly, "Do as you wish." Qin Feiyong asked, "Have you seen the Princess of Pan County?" "Yes." Lu Hong nodded and looked at Qin Feiyong suspiciously. She said, "She came to you several times. She seems to be very interested in you. Did you provoke her?" "Provoke her?" Qin Feiyong was stunned and shook his head. "No, I just saw her once outside the city." "Bro, is Fat Lord going to have another sister-in-law?" "Fat Lord, do the math. One for Fengling Air, one for Luo Qingzhu, one for Lin Yi. If you count Zhao Shuanger and the Pan County Princess, there will be 5. Oh my god, bro. Your charm is going to defy the heavens." The fatty made an extremely exaggerated expression as he exclaimed in shock, "Get lost." Qin Feiyong glared at Fatso. "I really don't understand what's in this bastard's mind." Chapter 206. Early morning. Mist filled the air. Qin Feiyong stood by the lake, breathing in the fresh air and exhaling the turbid air in his body. Dada. Not long after, Ling Yunfei ran to calm Heart Lake and stood beside Qin Feiyong with an excited face. Qin Feiyong looked at him and smiled. "Looking at your appearance, have you successfully opened the second level?" Ling Yunfei nodded and said with a sincere face, "I came here specially to thank you. If I didn't meet you, I wouldn't have been able to achieve what I have today." Qin Feiyong smiled and let out a long breath. He turned to Ling Yunfei and asked, "Do you still want to become stronger?" "Yes." Ling Yunfei nodded without hesitation. Qin Feiyong said, "Then I'll teach you Ice Crystal Finger, Mad Lion Roar, Rushing Thunder Kill Fist, Binding Tiger Hand, and Thunder Wind Palm." "Thank you." Ling Yunfei's body trembled as he hurriedly cupped his hands and thanked him. With such a perfect martial skill, it was completely enough to dominate the same realm. Qin Feiyong entered the attic, found 5 bamboo slips, and wrote down the cultivation method one by one on the bamboo slips. Fatso and Lu Hong walked downstairs, and curiously surrounded him. Damn, boss, you're going to teach me everything. Fatso's eyes lit up. Lu Hong's face was also filled with desire. After putting down the brush and ink, Qin Feiyang looked at the three of them and said with a smile, "You guys can cultivate together." Fatso smiled obsequiously. "Thank you, boss. Fat Lord knows that boss is selfless and will definitely not be biased." Lu Hong said, "A few days ago, you were still complaining that he was biased." Fatso's expression froze and said angrily, "Life is hard, don't you know? You really don't know anything." Lu Hong rolled her eyes at him. Clang. At this moment, the door was suddenly kicked open and a girl in green walked in. Qin Feiyang and the others frowned when they saw this. The person who came was none other than Princess Pan, Xia Qianqian. "Put it away," Qin Feiyang said in a low voice. He leaned back on the chair and looked at the girl silently. After Ling Yunfei put away the bamboo slips, he sat beside Fatso. Lu Hong squatted beside Qin Feiyang to make tea. After Xia Qianqian entered, she did not greet them. She wandered around the living room and sized up the layout around her. It was arrogant and rude. There was a trace of disdain on his face. Ah, such a shabby place to entertain VIPs. The martial imperial palace of the county of Yin is so lousy. A moment later, Xia Qianqian shook her head. Everyone raised their eyebrows. Now, as members of the Martial King Hall, they couldn't tolerate outsiders slandering the Martial King Hall. Furthermore, this outsider was not from the county of Yin. The princess is naturally delicate. This place is indeed not suitable for you, so please go back, lest you be wronged here. Lu Hong was the first to speak with a faint smile. At the same time, she twisted the teapot and poured a cup of tea for Qin Feiyang and the others, but did not pour a cup for Xia Qianqian. She did not even prepare a teacup for Xia Qianqian. Xia Qianqian frowned and looked at Lu Hong from head to toe. She looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Your maid is so rude." "Maid?" Lu Hong's delicate body trembled slightly. Qin Feiyang patted her shoulder and comforted her. Then, he suddenly raised his head and looked at Xia Qianqian. His face instantly turned cold. "You're the one who's rude. You don't knock when you enter someone else's place. You don't even greet me when you enter. You live in someone else's place and complain about the poor environment. I really don't know how the county king of Pan County educates his daughter. If this is your quality, then I can only say that you're too uneducated. You should throw it back and be remade." Qin Feiyang mocked mercilessly. At first, Xia Qianqian's expression was a little ugly. By the time Qin Feiyang finished speaking, her face was already covered with frost. Ling Yunfei smiled evilly and turned to look at Qin Feiyang. He said very seriously, "Your words are really too honest, but I don't understand. What do you mean by being remade?" Fatso said disdainfully, "Are you stupid? Don't you understand? This means that you should stuff it back into your mother's womb and do it again." Oh, Ling Yunfei suddenly understood. Hearing this conversation and looking at the expressions of the four people, Xia Qianqian was so angry that her body trembled. Howl. At this moment, Wolf King howled and ran down the stairs excitedly. It glanced at Xia Qianqian, turned around, jumped up, and landed on the chair beside it. Then, it actually half lay there like a human. Seeing that funny look, Xia Qianqian's eyes were filled with disdain. The faces of Qin Feiyang and the others couldn't help but twitch. This guy was too weird, wasn't he? If he was given a pair of sunglasses, he would really look like a big shot. However, they had already expected that Xia Qianqian would definitely go crazy with anger. If it were anyone else, they would definitely stop Wolf King. But now, they all crossed their arms and prepared to watch a good show. Wolf King said indifferently, "Lu Hong, do you have any wine?" "No." Lu Hong shook her head. "I do." Ling Yunfei took out a jar of wine, opened the wine seal, and handed it to Wolf King. Wolf King hugged the wine jar with his two paws, raised his head, and took a sip. He praised, "So refreshing." Then, he looked at Xia Qianqian and said proudly, "Although your quality is not good and you look a little annoying, your status is passable and your aptitude is not bad. You are barely qualified to be Brother Wolf's little follower." Little follower? Xia Qianqian was stunned, then gritted her teeth and glared at Wolf King. Qin Feiyong and the other three were holding back their faces red. It seemed that no one deserved a beating more than it. That arrogant look really made people want to hit it with a brick. What? You don't want to? It's a supreme honor to be Brother Wolf's little follower. Let me tell you, if you miss today, even if you strip in front of Brother Wolf in the future, Brother Wolf won't take you in. Wolf King said coldly and arrogantly. Strip? Qin Feiyong and the other three looked at each other. Wolf King's method of insulting people was indeed extraordinary. This time, Xia Qianqian would explode with anger. As expected. You scoundrel wolf, this princess will skin you alive today. She was like a crazy tigress, her aura erupting as she bared her fangs and brandished her claws towards Wolf King. So it's just a 9-star martial master. Qin Feiyong whispered. Xia Qianqian's age seemed to be about the same as his, maybe a little younger. However, she had lived in the royal family since she was young, and her starting point was many times higher than others. Now, she was only a 9-star martial master. Qin Feiyong used his mind to send a sound transmission and warned, White-eyed wolf, be gentle, don't really kill her. Heh. Wolf King laughed sinisterly and suddenly jumped up, sweeping past Xia Qianqian's head. However, his tail fiercely slapped Xia Qianqian's left face. Bam! A bright red mark appeared on the ground. Xia Qianqian screamed in pain. Then, she touched her burning left face, and an uncontrollable anger rose in her heart. She was the princess of Pan County, a priceless body. Even her father had not beaten her, but now she was being slapped in the face by a wolf? She could not endure this kind of humiliation. Grandma Hua, she suddenly screamed. The old woman in green robes rushed into the living room like a bolt of lightning. Xia Qianqian immediately ran in front of her, pointed at Qin Feiyong and the others, and said angrily, They bullied me, and that wolf even hit me. Look at my face, Grandma Hua. I want you to kill them. Kill? Qin Feiyong's gaze turned cold. He thought that this woman was just being willful, but he didn't expect that her heart was still so vicious. When the old woman in green saw the mark on Xia Qianqian's face, a terrifying cold light burst out from her eyes. She shouted, Who did it? Me. Qin Feiyong stood up without hesitation and looked at her coldly. Xia Qianqian said, It's not him, it's that wolf. You're courting death. The old woman in green waved her hand, and a resplendent battle chi shot towards Wolf King. Fuck. She really wants to kill. Wolf King's expression changed, and he hurriedly moved to the side. With a bang, a deep pit was blasted out of the ground. Pieces of gravel shot up into the air. Qin Feiyong's group of 4 and Wolf King were all hit by the gravel. Their skin and flesh were lacerated, and blood gushed out. What's going on? At this moment, Shizhang rushed in. When he saw the situation of Qin Feiyong and the others, he was immediately furious. He shouted at the old woman in green, What are you doing? Where do you think this is? How can you do whatever you want? I'm doing whatever I want? The old woman in green smiled coldly. With a wave of her hand, 3 streams of battle chi shot towards Shizhang. Shizhang dodged 2. The third stream of battle chi pierced through his right shoulder. His entire body was sent flying. Blood spurted out from the wound. You old witch, you actually want to kill Elder Shi. Fatso gritted his teeth and cracked his eyes. Lu Hong's face was also covered in frost. Ever since they came to the martial imperial palace, other than Elder Wan and the beautiful woman, Shizhang had treated them the best. All along, they all respected Shizhang. At this moment, seeing that Shizhang was seriously injured, a strong killing intent surged out from their hearts. Wolf King shouted, A wolf will take responsibility for his own actions. If there's anything, come at your grandpa wolf. Don't hurt the innocent. All right, I'll fulfill your wish. The old woman in green flickered with a cold light as she took a step forward and landed in front of Wolf King. Her skinny hand slapped towards Wolf King's head. Are you fucking serious? Wolf King was shocked. Grandma Hua, save me. At this moment, Xia Qianqian suddenly screamed. It turned out that it was Qin Feiyong. While the old woman in green was attacking Wolf King, he also rushed behind Xia Qianqian and took out the Changshui, placing it on Xia Qianqian's neck. How dare you? The old woman in green turned around, and a terrifying, baleful aura surged from her body. Fatso and Lu Hong, Ling Yunfei and Wolf King. They all ran behind Qin Feiyang. Fatso cursed loudly. Old witch, why don't you go and ask around? What is there that boss doesn't dare to do? Wolf King said with disdain. That's right. We're not even afraid of the 8-star war emperor. Why would we be afraid of an old bird like you? The old woman in green clenched her fists and said sinisterly, if you dare to harm a single hair on her head, I will make you regret coming to this world. Even Yin Nanshan won't be able to protect you. So awesome? Does your mother know? Qin Feiyang sneered. Little Qin Zi, her mother is already in the coffin. How would she know? Wolf King chuckled. That's true. Chapter 207. You're courting death. The green-robed old woman's killing intent rose, and a terrifying pressure roared out. Hey! Qin Feiyang grinned, and with a slight force of his arm, a bloody mark immediately appeared on Xia Qianqian's neck. Xia Qianqian also screamed on the spot. Her face was full of fear. Seeing this, the green-robed old woman trembled and hurriedly withdrew her pressure. Try moving again? Qin Feiyang revealed a mouthful of white teeth. Do you know what you're doing? Do you know who she is? The green-robed old woman said gloomily. Wolf King said disdainfully, TSK, isn't she just the princess of Pan County? What's so great about her? We even dared to mess up the wedding of the first prince of Yin County, let alone you two outsiders. If you don't want her to die, then stand there obediently and don't move. Fatso rubbed his wrist as he sneakily walked towards the green-robed old woman. What do you want? The green-robed old woman said in a deep voice. What do I want? Of course, I want to seek justice for Elder Shur. Fatso walked up, raised his hand, and slapped the green-robed old woman. The green-robed old woman was about to make a move. Don't you dare move. Qin Feiyang sneered and used a little more force. The wound on Xia Qianqian's neck deepened. Xia Qianqian's face turned pale, and she screamed repeatedly. The green-robed old woman was shocked. Slap. Fatso slapped her face. A palm print immediately appeared on the green-robed old woman's wrinkled face. The green-robed old woman was stunned. He actually dared to slap her? It hurts. This slap is a loss. Fatso took the opportunity to quickly retreat, and while shaking his hand, he complained. Qin Feiyang and the others glared at Fatso fiercely. Could he not be funny at this time? Boom. The green-robed old woman also suddenly raised her head, and her aura erupted. The entire pavilion was torn apart on the spot with a loud bang. After hitting her, he still complained that his hand hurt. This was really unbearable. This scene, Elder Wan and the beautiful woman happened to see him. I knew something bad would happen. We shouldn't have let them stay in the soothing lake last night. Both of them looked vexed. Shi Zheng, who was half kneeling by the lake, was both touched and worried. If it was any other young man, they would have long since knelt before the green-robed old woman and begged for mercy. Why would they care if he was injured or not? However, not only did these youngsters not beg for mercy, they even wanted to seek justice for him. Just based on the slap that Fatso gave the green-robed old woman, the injury on his shoulder was not in vain. However, the green-robed old woman was a combat emperor after all. She was also the law-enforcing elder of the Martial King Palace in the Pan County. Offending such an important person would definitely bring about endless troubles in the future. Therefore, he was worried for them. However, when he saw Elder Wan and the other person, he secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Swish! Elder Wan and the beautiful woman landed beside Qin Feiyang's group at the same time. Are you done fooling around? Why aren't you releasing Princess Xia? The two of them shouted. What a bunch of troublesome little bastards. Qin Feiyang pursed his lips and took back the changshui. Xia Qianqian immediately fled and hid behind the green-robed old woman. Her body was trembling and her face was deathly pale. It was obvious. Too frightened. With Grandma Hua here, it's fine. The green-robed old woman turned around and hugged her in her arms. After comforting her with a few words, she looked at Elder Wan and the other person and said coldly, You must give this old man a satisfactory explanation. Elder Wan shouted. Qin Feiyong, why did you threaten Princess Ya? Qin Feiyong said, that old witch wanted to kill the white-eyed wolf, so this disciple had no choice. Elder Wan's face twitched as he glared at him fiercely, as if to say, Old witch, how can you call her that? Didn't you also call her old witch? Qin Feiyong muttered in dissatisfaction. Lower your voice. Are you afraid that she won't be able to hear you? Elder Wan's face darkened as he said angrily in Qin Feiyong's ear. Qin Feiyong pursed his lips and said, I'm already very quiet. Besides, aren't you a straightforward person? What are you afraid of? Elder Wan was a little embarrassed and asked again, Then why did she want to kill Wolf King? Why are you asking so many questions? Aren't you annoying? Brother Wolf will tell you. Wolf King told him in detail. Fatty added a few more sentences to add fuel to the fire. Hearing this, Elder Wan and the beautiful woman's faces suddenly became extremely ugly as they looked at the green-robed old woman and the other person in unison. My martial imperial hall is indeed shabby and can't accommodate two great Buddhas like you. You'd better find another place to stay. The beautiful woman said lightly. I always thought that Qin Feiyong was arrogant and rude enough, but I didn't expect that the princess of Pan County was even worse than him. Elder Wan sneered. Cough, cough. Qin Feiyong choked on his saliva. He couldn't think of when he was arrogant and rude. Indeed, his attitude towards some people was very arrogant, but those people were not worthy of respect. Wasn't he always courteous to people worthy of respect? The green-robed old woman also frowned and looked down at the girl in her arms. She said angrily, Didn't I tell you to behave yourself when you came to the county of Yin? Xia Qianqian lowered her head and panicked. The green-robed old woman sighed and looked up at Elder Wan and the beautiful woman. She said, Qianqian is indeed in the wrong and I apologize to you. But how are you going to pay for this slap? Elder Wan and the beautiful woman then noticed the palm print on the green-robed old woman's face. What happened? The two of them were stunned. Who was so bold? I slapped her. Fatso took a step forward and raised his head, looking majestic. Elder Wan rewarded him with a slap on the head and shouted, You think you're awesome? You even dared to slap the War Emperor. Are you tired of living? I'm not awesome. It was this old witch who wanted to kill Elder Sure. That's why I slapped her. Elder, you often teach me that the martial imperial hall does not cause trouble, but we are not afraid of it. Although I'm weak, I'm hot-blooded and will not allow anyone to behave atrociously in the martial imperial hall. Fatso didn't know where he got his courage from, but he shouted righteously. Elder Wan's face twitched. Sure enough, none of these bastards were easy to deal with. He looked at the green-robed old woman and said, You killed someone in the martial imperial hall without any reason. It's all your fault. Elder Wan continued, however, It's indeed a little wrong for a disciple of the martial imperial hall to slap you. Cough, cough. Fatso, apologize to her. Just a little? The green-robed old woman's eyes burned with anger. The beautiful woman said coldly, If you want to continue, we'll accompany you to the end. We can even call the people from the state capital to deal with it. The green-robed old woman glanced at the two of them. Fatso smiled proudly and cupped his hands. Old witch, cough. Elder Wan coughed loudly. Fatso quivered and continued, Elder, it was Fat Lord just now. Elder Wan slapped him and said angrily, Do you know how to talk? Fat Lord, do you think I won't make you fatter? Fatso looked wronged and cupped his hands. Elder, I was wrong just now. Please be magnanimous and don't bother with Fat Lord. Fat Lord again? Apologize again. Elder Wan roared and his veins popped. He really wanted to tear Fatso's mouth apart. The green-robed old woman was so angry that her lungs were about to explode. She said gloomily, Forget about the apology. I just want to ask you, do you accept my Panjun's challenge? Elder Wan frowned and said, We are still discussing this matter. We will give you an answer in 2 days. All right, I'll wait for 2 more days. The green-robed old woman grabbed Xia Qianqian and left without looking back. You're leaving just like that? Fatso was stunned. If you don't leave, will you stay and embarrass yourself? Wolf King disdained. At this moment, Shi Zheng walked in and said with a smile, "Thank you, little fellows, but in the future, don't mess around like this." Elder Wan said, "No, that's how it should be." Uh, Qin Feiyong and the others were dumbfounded on the spot. Shi Zheng was also extremely stunned. Elder Wan snorted coldly, "If you don't hit this kind of person, she won't be honest." The beautiful woman said, "Indeed, Fatso should have slapped her a few more times just now." The few of them looked at each other. What was going on? The two elders seemed to be a little angry today. Qin Feiyong asked in confusion, "Elder, what was the challenge they were talking about just now?" Elder Wan said, "The people from Pan County want to have a friendly match with us." Friendly match? The few of them were stunned and puzzled. Elder Wan said, "To put it bluntly, it's a match between the younger generation of our Yin County and the younger generation of their Pan County." Wolf King said, "Fight. What's there to be afraid of?" Fatso nodded and said, "Yes, kill them and let them know why their chrysanthemums are so yellow." Elder Wan glared at him and sighed. "If it's just a simple match, of course we won't refuse. But what's infuriating is that they actually want us to fight in Pan County. What the hell? It's Pan County who challenged our Yin County. Shouldn't they take the initiative to come to Yin County? Why should we go all the way to Pan County?" Ling Yunfei and the others were a little indignant. Elder Wan said, "That's right. That's what pisses us off." Qin Feiyong asked, "Is there a bet? If it's just a simple friendly match, then it's meaningless." "Yes, that's the second reason why they're pissed." They said, "If Pan County loses, they'll give us 100 Crimson Fire Glaze pills. But if we lose, we'll have to give you to them." Elder Wan said, Ling Yunfei and the others looked at Qin Feiyong strangely. After all this time, was Pan Jun here for him? Qin Feiyong was also a little dumbfounded. He said helplessly, "So, in the eyes of those people from Pan County, I'm only worth 100 Crimson Fire Glaze pills, and they're just ordinary Crimson Fire Glaze pills." Shi Zheng asked, "Elder, what do you think?" The beautiful woman said angrily, "They're basically robbing us. Do you think we'll agree?" A supreme-grade alchemist was very important to any faction. For example, a supreme-grade Crimson Fire Glaze pill could raise one's cultivation by 2 levels. Another example was the potential pill, which could break through the limits and open the door of potential. It could be said that a supreme-grade alchemist could raise the overall strength of a place to a level in a short period of time. So, the Yin County would definitely not agree. Chapter 208. Elder Wan looked at Qin Feiyong and asked, "What do you think? Should we agree?" Qin Feiyong smiled and said, "I'm a disciple of the Martial Imperial Hall now. I'll do whatever you decide." The woman said, "But didn't you say you have to mourn? You can't leave the county of Yin?" Ahem. Qin Feiyong choked, but a cold light flashed in his eyes. He smiled faintly and said, "For the honor of the county of Yin, I believe my father won't blame me." Elder Wan and Elder Wan looked at each other suspiciously, but they didn't ask. "One more thing. They're asking about the potential elixir," Elder Wan said meaningfully. Then, the woman turned into a ray of light and flew away. Potential elixir. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed. He looked at Shi Zheng and smiled. "Elder Shi, go heal your wounds. Leave the rebuilding of the attic to us." "Okay." Shi Zheng nodded and returned to the balcony of the attic. He took a healing elixir and closed his eyes to heal his wounds. Fatso asked, "Boss, is your father really dead?" Wolf King rolled his eyes at Fatso and said, "If little Qin Zi's father is dead, the entire Great Qin Empire will be shaken. Is it that serious?" Ling Yunfei and the other two looked at each other. Fatso went up to Wolf King and smiled obsequiously. "Brother Wolf, do you know who Boss's father is?" "None of your business." Wolf King glared at him and ran toward the wooden bridge. "Where are you going?" Qin Feiyong shouted. "To find some wine," the Wolf King said without looking back and quickly disappeared from their line of sight. Qin Feiyong's face darkened. This ruffian wolf really doesn't know when to stop. He looked at Fatso and said, "Give me the herbs for the potential elixir." After getting the herbs, Qin Feiyong went straight to the castle. Fatso pursed his lips and said, "Boss is willing to tell Brother Wolf his identity, but not us." Obviously, he doesn't trust us. What are you talking about? Lu Hong furrowed her brows and said angrily, if he didn't trust you, would he let you manage the herbs? Ling Yunfei nodded and said, Lu Hong is right. It's not that he doesn't trust us. It's just that he doesn't want to remember his past. Why? Fatso was puzzled. Ling Yunfei said, I don't know either. But last time, after we escaped from the Eagle Claw Peak, I mentioned his father when chatting with him, but he seems to be very sensitive about his father. Sensitive? Fatso and Lu Hong looked at each other, their eyes full of bewilderment. Ling Yunfei smiled and said, All right, don't think about it. When the time is right, he will naturally tell us. Quickly help to build the loft. Wait, before that, there's one more thing that needs to be dealt with. Fatso laughed sinisterly and took out the image crystal. Amidst the radiance, Steward Li's figure appeared. Fatso, what are you doing? Is Boss Qin looking for some herbs again? Manager Li asked with a smile. You're thinking too much. Today, Fat Lord is not looking for you to buy herbs. He wants you to do him a favor, Fatso said with a sinister smile. Manager Li rolled his eyes and said disdainfully, looking at your treacherous face, it's definitely not something good. Say it. Fatso said, you know about the two people in Pan County, right? Manager Li nodded. If they go to the treasure pavilion, don't see them, let alone say anything. Fatso said with a smile. What? Did they offend Boss Qin? Manager Li was surprised. What do you think? Fatso asked back. All right, since Boss Qin has spoken, how can this old man not listen? Is there anything else? If there's nothing else, this old man will go back to work. Manager Li said, Thank you very much. After Fatso finished speaking, he turned off the image crystal. At the same time, Flying Phoenix House. In a private room. Qian, why are you so insensible? I told you repeatedly not to provoke that Qin Feiyang. Why didn't you listen? I originally wanted to ask him for a potential pill to help you open the first level of the door of potential. Isn't there no hope now? The green-robed old woman said angrily. Xia Qian said aggrievedly, I didn't offend him that much. Then you call that not much? The green-robed old woman shook her head helplessly and sighed. Your young lady's temper works on others, but it won't work on Qin Feiyang. Grandma Hua, can you not boost others' morale and destroy our own prestige? Xia Qian complained unhappily. You still haven't grown up. You can't see the situation clearly. The green-robed old woman sighed. Although Xia Qian was the princess of Pan County and her talent was not bad, compared to Qin Feiyang, she was too far away. Take the state government, for example. They would send an invitation to Qin Feiyang, but they would definitely not send an invitation to Xia Qian. But this kid is too arrogant. If there's a chance in the future, we'll have to teach him a lesson. The green-robed old woman's eyes flashed coldly. That's easy. As long as Yin County agrees to our challenge, with the power of Pan County, we'll definitely make them suffer a crushing defeat. When that time comes, I'll make Qin Feiyang work like a horse for me and listen to my orders for the rest of his life. Xia Qian said resentfully. The green-robed old woman shook her head and said, I'm just afraid that the big shots of Yin County won't agree to this challenge. Don't run around. I'm going to Treasure Pavilion. Why are you going to Treasure Pavilion? Xia Qian asked hurriedly. Isn't it to find the potential pill for you? The green-robed old woman got up and walked out of the pavilion quickly. When she passed by the lobby, a conversation attracted her attention. She stopped and listened silently. Brother, do you know? Qin Feiyang used to sit in the seat you're sitting in now. Really? Then I'm really lucky. Maybe one day, I'll be like him and become a well-known big shot. In your dreams. Not only is young Master Qin a supreme-grade alchemist, but he also opened the legendary door of potential, and it's the second level. With your ability, you want to be like him? Most importantly, he's a good person. I'm just saying. A few middle-aged men were talking. The green-robed old woman's eyes flashed and walked over with a smile. She cupped her hands and said, Friends, can you tell me about Qin Feiyang's deeds? In an instant, the diners in the lobby all looked at the green-robed old woman in unison. Their eyes were very strange. Is there a problem? The green-robed old woman was puzzled and a little uncomfortable. Young Master Qin's glorious deeds have long been known by everyone. You actually don't know? Are you from our Yin city? The two burly men frowned. This old woman just came to Yin City not long ago. The green-robed old woman smiled amiably. A burly man in white shouted, I've seen her before. She's the one who forced us to kneel outside the city that day. Young Master Qin was also there at that time. What? How dare you force young Master Qin to kneel? Old witch, who are you? How dare you? Do you believe that we'll drown you with a mouthful of saliva each? Damn you. Young Master Qin is such a good person. You actually bullied him. Are you still human? Everyone suddenly stood up and glared at the green-robed old woman, cursing out all kinds of words. Even her 18 generations of ancestors were not spared. The green-robed old woman's face was a little ugly. She never thought that just because of a small matter, it would actually cause public anger. It seemed that this Qin Feiyong was not only a monster, but also a person who was deeply loved. Filled with anger and helplessness, she tactfully left. At the precious treasure pavilion, as soon as the green-robed old woman walked in, all the staff looked at her strangely. What's going on? The green-robed old woman mumbled to herself. She walked in front of one of the staff and smiled. May I know if your manager is here? The staff said, The manager is not here, and the precious treasure pavilion does not welcome you. Please leave. The green-robed old woman raised her eyebrows and said angrily, What do you mean by this? The precious treasure pavilion is open for business. How can you chase a customer out? The staff said, We have no choice. This is the order from above. Please leave. This is too much. The green-robed old woman waved her sleeves and walked out angrily. How dare she offend young Master Qin? Doesn't she know that by offending young Master Qin, she's going against the entire Yin City? I really don't know where this idiot came from. Before the green-robed old woman walked out of the precious treasure pavilion, the staff and customers could not help but whisper. Hearing these whispers, the green-robed old woman's eyes darkened. What did Qin Feiyong do? Why are there so many people helping him? She went to the Danwang Hall, the royal family, and the Lin family. However, she was told by the three forces that the leaders had gone to the Martial Imperial Hall and could not see her. She finally knew what it was like to be despised. At the same time, Martial Imperial Hall, Meeting Hall. Yin Nanshan was not the only one in the hall. Elder Wan, the beautiful lady, King Yin, and the others were also present. Yin Nanshan glanced at the crowd and said, Everyone, I've told you the purpose of Pan Jun's visit. Now, let's talk about it. What should we do? The matter between Zhua An and the Blood Slaughter Palace has not been settled. I think we should ignore them for now. King Yin was the first to speak. Steward Li shook his head and said, I disagree. Pan Jun's attitude is too arrogant. If we don't teach them a lesson, they won't know what's good for them. I also agree with Steward Li's suggestion. Although I hate Qin Feiyong and can't wait for him to get lost. But this matter is not about our personal reputation. It's about the dignity of the entire county of Yin. We can't refuse. Ma Cheng said, That's right. We have to fight this battle, and we have to do it with all our might. The Lin family's patriarch nodded. King Yin glanced at the few of them and couldn't help but frown. He looked at Yin Nanshan and said, If we really accept the challenge, Qin Feiyong will definitely be one of the main forces. Have you asked his opinion? Elder Wan said, We have. He said that the 100 red fire glaze elixirs that Pan Jun has offered are too little. This brat is really greedy. Steward Li shook his head and laughed. He pondered for a moment and said, Let's do it this way. We don't want the elixirs. We want 100 sets of red fire glaze elixirs and 20 sets of potential elixirs. Hearing this, everyone's eyes lit up. King Yin laughed and said, If Pan Jun agrees to this condition, I have no objections. But if we win, how are we going to distribute the spoils? Chapter 209. Yin Nanshan frowned. Pan County hasn't agreed yet. Isn't it too early to talk about the distribution of benefits? That's true. Ma Cheng and the others nodded. Yin Nanshan said, Old Wan, go find them immediately and explain this to them. Okay. Elder Wan nodded and rushed out of the hall, disappearing quickly. The leaders in the hall became a little uneasy because they were afraid that Pan County wouldn't accept, and they would be happy for nothing. Elder Juan went out to ask around and found out that the old woman in green robes was at the Flying Phoenix house. It was because the old woman in green robes was too famous now. Everyone was talking about her. However, her notoriety was spread far and wide. After knowing this, Elder Juan couldn't help but sneer. When he entered the Flying Phoenix house, he found the old woman in green robes and explained his purpose. The old woman in green robes nodded and agreed without a word. She had suffered too much today, and it had completely ignited the anger in her heart. Elder Juan immediately went back to report. Ma Chang and the others breathed a sigh of relief and began to discuss the distribution of benefits. The whole day, the quarrels in the conference hall never stopped. Until evening. Only then did the various leaders leave in satisfaction. Early the next morning, the beautiful woman came to Soothing Lake. What? We're going to Pan County now? After the beautiful woman explained the situation, Qin Feiyang and the others were shocked. The beautiful woman smiled. Quickly prepare and gather at the conference hall. Qin Feiyang said, there's nothing to prepare, but there are only 100 scarlet fire-colored glass elixirs. I'm not interested. The beautiful woman said, it's changed now. It's 100 sets of scarlet fire-colored glass elixirs and 20 sets of potential pills. Really? Qin Feiyang's eyes lit up. Fatso and Wolf King were also excited. The beautiful woman nodded. Qin Feiyang smiled. Okay, let's go. The beautiful woman looked at Fatso and Lu Hong and asked, they're going too? Is there a problem? Qin Feiyang frowned. After going to Pan County, he would continue to buy herbs. Of course, he had to bring along Fatso and Li Tianlan. The beautiful woman pondered for a moment and nodded. Let's go then. Shi Zhang stood up and stood on the balcony. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, after you go to Pan County, perform well. Don't embarrass our Martial King Hall. Elder, don't worry. Qin Feiyang smiled and took out a Chinkuan pouch. He threw it to Shi Zhang and said with a smile, Elder, I'll have to trouble you to distribute some medicinal pills to everyone during this period of time when I'm not around. All right. Shi Zhang nodded. The beautiful woman waved her hand and led the 3 people and 1 wolf to the conference hall. In the main hall, other than the big shots, Zhang Jingyi also came. There were also many old acquaintances. The royal family had the first prince and the 2 youths who had fought in the square. The Lin family had Lin Hao and Lin Hua. In the Danwang Hall were Shui Yang, Wang Xia, and Xie Feng. In the Martial King Hall were Feng Ling Er, Luo Qingzhu, Zhao Shuanger, and Ling Yunfei. As soon as Qin Feiyang entered the hall, Lin Hua looked at him with resentment. Qin Feiyang glanced at them one by one and frowned slightly. This was the Yin County's lineup? Wasn't it a little too weak? As if seeing Qin Feiyang's confusion, the beautiful woman said in a low voice, Pan County has a requirement. Only those under the age of 20 are allowed to participate in this competition. Qin Feiyang suddenly understood. He turned around and looked at the first prince, Lin Hao, and Shui Yang with a strange expression. Brother Qin, why are you looking at us like that? The first prince asked with a smile. Lin Hao and Shui Yang also frowned. Qin Feiyang asked, are you guys really not 20 yet? As soon as the words came out, the conference hall fell into a dead silence. Everyone looked at him, their faces twitching non-stop. Was it really a good idea to question the age of the 3 of them? Not to mention, did the 3 of them look that old? Lin Hao and Shui Yang's faces darkened immediately. The first prince also raised his eyebrows and smiled. Brother Qin, I can tell you very responsibly that we are only 19 years old. Maybe it's because we have been under a lot of pressure since we were young, so we are more mature than our peers. Oh, Qin Feiyang nodded, but his eyes were still full of doubt. Ahem. Since everyone is here, I will say a few words. This friendly competition is related to the reputation and glory of the Yin County. So, I hope that you can put aside your personal grudges for the time being and unite against the outside world. Yin Nanshan coughed and looked at Qin Feiyang and the others. He shouted with a serious face. The king of Yin nodded and said, that's right. Your opponents this time are the youngsters from Pan County. I don't want to hear any news of you killing each other in Pan County. Qin Feiyang said, what if someone insists on doing so? No matter who it is, they will be punished severely. The king of Yen said coldly, Brother Wolf, I would like to ask if we should keep a low profile or keep a high profile when we go to Pan County. Wolf King grinned. The faces of the other leaders twitched. It seemed that this wolf cub was ready to go all out. Yin Nanshan said, in principle, we should keep a low profile. But since Pan County is so arrogant, there is no need for us to hold back. As long as you have the ability, even if you turn Pan County upside down, we will support you. Hearing that, everyone laughed. Yin Nanshan continued, this time, Pavilion Leader Jiang will be leading the team to Pan County. Elder Jia and Patriarch Lin will go with him. You must listen to them. Yes. Everyone bowed and replied, Jiahe. Patriarch Lin? Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows without a trace. Why would he let Jiahe go? This person was narrow-minded, and there was no guarantee that he wouldn't cause any trouble at the crucial moment. As for Patriarch Lin, he didn't know much about him, so he didn't dare to make a judgment. Jiang Jingyi got up and smiled. Little guys, are you ready? If you are, let's go. Everyone nodded. Qin Feiyang whispered, Fatso, Lu Hong, go to the castle first. The two nodded. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and sent the two of them in. At this moment, many people's eyes changed and were filled with greed. Jiang Jingyi turned around and looked at Yin Nanshan and the others. He smiled and said, Everyone, wait for the good news. Thank you, Pavilion Leader Jiang. Yin Nanshan and the others also cupped their hands and smiled. Swish. Jiang Jingyi smiled and waved his hand. Battle Qi appeared and swept up Qin Feiyang and the others. They turned into a ray of light and arrived above the city gate in a dozen breaths. This astonishing speed caused Qin Feiyang and the others to feel extremely envious. The old woman in a green robe had been waiting for a long time. Swish. The old woman in a green robe brought Xia Qianqian and landed in front of Jiang Jingyi. She frowned and said, Do you people from the county of Yin have no concept of time? The first prince and the others frowned. Are you deliberately looking for trouble? Jiang Jingyi reached out and stopped the first prince and the others. He smiled and said, I didn't ask you to wait, did I? In other words, they were the ones who wanted to wait here. Who was to blame? Our pavilion? The old woman in a green robe was shocked. You are the pavilion leader of the treasure pavilion, Jiang Jingyi? Jiang Jingyi smiled and said, Yes, I am. What can I do for you? The old woman in a green robe froze. She didn't expect the leader to be this person. She looked at Jiahe and Patriarch Lin, and her eyes narrowed. This formation was really shocking. Suddenly, she locked her eyes on the first prince, Shuiyang, and Lin Hao and asked, Are they also going to participate in the friendly competition? Jiang Jingyi was puzzled. Is there a problem? The old woman in a green robe frowned. Are you sure they are not 20 years old? Qin Feiyang and the others burst out laughing. Jiang Jingyi, Jiahe, and Patriarch Lin were also stunned. As for the first prince and the other two, their faces were dark. After being suspected again and again, they were about to go berserk. They wanted to shout, Are they really that old? Qin Feiyang turned to look at the three of them and said with a smile, You saw it too. Now you can't blame me for being rude, right? The three of them glared at him fiercely. Jiang Jingyi coughed and said with a smile, Please don't worry, Your Excellency. We can guarantee with our dignity that they are not 20 years old. The old woman in a green robe had a look of disbelief. Xia Qianqian looked at everyone disdainfully and said with a smile, Grandma Hua, it doesn't matter even if they are 20 years old. The old woman in a green robe nodded and said, That's right. They are all cannon fodder anyway. Cannon fodder? The first prince and the others immediately clenched their fists. His gaze was overbearing. Patriarch Lin looked at them and said calmly, It's useless to talk nonsense now. When we reach Pan County, we will use our fists to shut them up. We definitely will. Everyone gritted their teeth. Brainless people are really pitiful. Qin Feiyang shook his head and whispered. Pan County was a little too arrogant and had aroused the anger in everyone's hearts. Because of this, everyone was united, even if it was only temporary. You are too slow. I will give you a ride. Jiang Jingyi waved his hand and led everyone. Like a bolt of lightning, they disappeared into the sky in the blink of an eye. On a certain mountain peak outside the city, an old man and a young man stood side by side on a branch of a big tree. They used the dense leaves to hide their figures. It was Zhua and Lin Shan. Lin Shan retracted his gaze and sneered, "Master, why don't we intercept them on the way?" "No." Zoran shook his head and said with a sinister smile, "We won't get any benefits if we intercept them now." Lin Shan said, "Master, do you mean that we will intercept them on the way back after they win Pan County?" Zoran nodded and said, "That's right. At that time, not only will we be able to take down Qin Feiyang, we will also be able to get 100 sets of red fire-colored glass pills and 20 sets of potential pills." At the mention of potential pills, Lin Shan also yearned for them. As he spoke, Zoran took out an image crystal and quickly activated it. After a while, an illusory figure appeared. Zoran ordered, "I am going to Pan County. During this period, stop all activities and tell everyone to hide well. Don't let Yin Nanshan and the others find out." "Yes." The illusory figure bowed and replied. Zoran put away the image crystal and disappeared with Lin Shan in a flash. There was a mountain range between Yin County and Pan County. It was called Yin Pan Mountain Range. It was named after the two counties. However, this mountain range was extremely vast. In the central area of the mountain range, there were War Emperor-level beasts lurking. Without a War Emperor, no one dared to cross this mountain range. However, even if there was a War Emperor, they had to keep a low profile and not provoke those beasts. They did not stop and rest. 7 days later. Chapter 210. The area of Pan County was not smaller than Yin County. The population was also similar. However, on the way to the capital of Pan County, Qin Feiyang clearly felt that the overall strength of Pan County was a level higher than that of Yin County, because even an ordinary town had hundreds of martial masters. Looking at Iron Ox Town, all the martial masters added up would not exceed 50. It was no wonder that the old woman in the green robe was so confident. The capital of Pan County was called Pan Royal City. Its scale was similar to that of Yin County. At this moment, on the city walls of Pan Royal City, there were teenagers or young men standing proudly. The oldest was no more than 25 years old. "Why aren't the people from Yin County here yet? I'm starting to feel itchy all over. I really hope they can come soon. Don't be too expectant." According to the princess's message, the people from Yin County are not much. No matter what, the princess told us to show them who's boss. We must do it. Yes, the princess has suffered in Yin County. We must make them pay back double. These people were all the best of the younger generation in Pan Royal City. At this moment, they were all in high spirits and in high spirits. Below them was a vast plain. Tens of thousands of people were gathered there. "Look, someone is flying over." Someone in the crowd suddenly exclaimed and pointed into the distance. Everyone looked over. They saw a bright stream of light flying toward Pan Royal City at a speed that was difficult to see with the naked eye. Whoosh! The stream of light suddenly stopped in the air dozens of meters away. It was Qin Feiyang and his group. Are they the best of the younger generation in Yin County? There's nothing outstanding about them. However, those women are rare beauties. The group of young people on the city wall ignored Qin Feiyang and his group and locked their eyes on Luo Qingzhu and Fengling Air. At the same time, the eldest prince and the others were also sizing up the people of Pan Royal City. Their brows were furrowed. The corners of Ling Yunfei's mouth curled up slightly, and he said playfully, "This lineup is not small. It seems that we are very popular with everyone." Popular? Xia Qianqian did not hide her sarcasm. Qin Feiyang glanced at Xia Qianqian and said with a faint smile, "You arranged it, right? So what if this princess arranged it?" Not only did Xia Qianqian not deny it, she even looked at Qin Feiyang and the others provocatively. "If you can't even beat them, you don't have the right to enter Panwang City. Lackey, is this your place to interrupt?" Wolf King glanced sideways at her. His contemptuous gaze made Xia Qianqian almost go crazy. This damned ruffian wolf kept calling her little lackey on the way here. She couldn't take it anymore. "Just you wait." Xia Qianqian glared at Wolf King angrily and said, Grandma Hua, let's go. The green-robed old woman left Qin Feiyang and the others behind and flew towards the city wall with Xia Qianqian alone. Jiang Jingyi smiled faintly. Sir, is this how you treat your guests in Pan County? Jia He and old ancestor Lin's faces were extremely gloomy. Just as Qianqian said, if the young people you brought can't even enter the city gate, then there's no need for this friendly competition to continue. The green-robed old woman said without turning her head. Arrogant. Jia He and old ancestor Lin flew into a rage. The eldest prince and the others also clenched their hands tightly, their eyes spitting out thick flames of anger. They had come all the way to Pan County's capital, but they were actually blocked outside the door. This was simply an insult to them. Swoosh. Jiang Jingyi waved his hand and landed on the ground with Qin Feiyang and the others. The crowd below retreated into the distance. Jia He glanced at Qin Feiyang and the others and shouted, What are you still standing here for? Go quickly. I'll take responsibility for killing or crippling them. Cough, cough. Jiang Jingyi coughed dryly and said, Elder Jia, pay attention to your image. They are already riding on top of our heads. What's there to be mindful of? Qin Feiyang, ruffian wolf, aren't you guys very arrogant in Yin City? Why have you become cowards when you come here? Hurry up and bring out your arrogance. Jia He was furious, his beard was puffed up, and his eyes were glaring. Qin Feiyang and Wolf King were a little dazed. Although they hated this old man, he was indeed very domineering. So, he is Qin Feiyang. I heard that he is a supreme great alchemist and has already unlocked the second level of the Gate of Potential. Even the people from the state government went to Yin City to pick him up personally. Impressive. I just don't know if his methods are as impressive as they seem. The crowd looked curiously at Qin Feiyang and whispered among themselves, Qin Feiyang, how dare you bully the princess? I want you to kneel down in front of everyone and apologize to the princess. A young man in purple, about 20 years old, jumped down from the city wall and walked arrogantly toward Qin Feiyang. Wow, so powerful? The Wolf King let out a strange cry. Brother Wolf, I don't need you to do it. I will do it. Ling Yunfei took a step forward with an evil grin on his face. The young man in purple stopped and looked at Ling Yunfei from head to toe. He said disdainfully, Who do you think you are? What right do you have to fight with me? I am your ancestor. Ling Yunfei smiled. You are courting death. The young man in purple was furious. His aura suddenly burst out, and he rushed toward Ling Yunfei. Only a 9-star martial artist? The corners of the first prince and the others' mouths curled into a mocking smile. They had all seen Ling Yunfei's strength. He was absolutely invincible in the same realm. Your mouth is dirty. Slap it. The purple-clothed young man rushed towards Ling Yunfei and slapped him in an overbearing manner. Trash. Ling Yunfei spat out 2 words indifferently. He took a step forward and, like a ghost, he instantly ran behind the young man in purple. Then, he raised his foot and kicked the young man in purple's butt. Bang! Immediately, the young man in purple fell to the ground and ate a mouthful of mud. The surrounding crowd was dumbfounded. The outstanding talents on the city wall were also dumbfounded. He lost just like that? One had to know that Ling Yunfei had not made a move yet. Impossible. The young man in purple roared and suddenly got up. Pow! But at the same time he got up, Ling Yunfei landed in front of him, raised his arm, and slapped him hard in the face. The slap was exceptionally loud. The face of the young man in purple was directly deformed. Teeth mixed with blood spurted out. His whole body flew out again and slammed on the ground, screaming, Good hit. The eldest prince and the others laughed. The other party wanted to slap Ling Yunfei as soon as he came up, but he was slapped by Ling Yunfei instead. There was nothing more satisfying than this. Ling Yunfei turned to look at Jia He and asked, Elder Jia, are you really responsible for killing or crippling him? Yes. Jia He nodded without hesitation. In that case, I won't be polite. Ling Yunfei whispered. He suddenly turned his head and looked at the young man in purple. His temperament changed drastically in an instant. His whole body was filled with a terrifying, murderous aura. This kind of fiendish aura was slowly cultivated by following Qin Feiyang and fighting all the way. Seeing this, the old woman in green suddenly changed her expression and shouted, "The outcome has been decided. Don't kill him." Whoosh. However, Ling Yunfei turned a deaf ear, used the return to origin steps, and landed in front of the young man in purple in 2 steps. "You dare to make Qin Feiyang kneel in front of everyone. You are really tired of living." He was seething with anger. Lifting his foot, true energy gushed out. Suddenly, he kicked the young man in purple in the chest. "I'm going to kill you." But at this time, the young man in purple suddenly turned over and punched out. The terrifying force was earth-shattering, obviously using a martial skill. Moreover, it was a perfect martial skill. Not good. The eldest prince and the others changed their expressions. The old woman in green had a trace of cold light in her eyes. Ling Yunfei's kick was indeed fierce. If kicked, the young man in purple would definitely die. But no matter how fierce this kick was, it was just an ordinary kick with only the strength of 9 barbarian elephants. And the punch of the young man in purple, after the enhancement of the perfect martial skill, had the strength of 13 barbarian elephants. It was enough to seriously injure Ling Yunfei, even cripple one of his legs. And this attack was too sudden. She did not believe that Ling Yunfei could dodge it. However, in the next moment, her eyes widened and her old face was filled with disbelief. However, she saw that Ling Yunfei seemed to have already expected this. The kick that was kicked out suddenly changed direction, avoiding the punch and kicking the young man in purple in the lower abdomen. Accompanied by a blood-curdling scream. The young man in purple was like a cannonball, fiercely smashing into the city wall, and then rolling to the ground, dead on the spot. The old woman in green jumped down and saw that the young man in purple was dead. Her old eyes immediately flashed with a cold light. She suddenly turned her head and looked at Ling Yunfei. With a wave of his old hand, a resplendent battle chi with monstrous killing intent shot towards Ling Yunfei. But at the same time, another wave of battle chi emerged and swept past Ling Yunfei, easily erasing the battle chi of the old woman in green robe. The person who attacked was Jiang Zhengyi. He smiled faintly and said, "I didn't see you call for your man to stop when he threw that punch just now. Since it's up to each other, please don't interfere." The old woman in green looked at Jiang Zhengyi and said word by word, "Don't regret it. If you dare to attack again and kill the people of the county of Yin, the pavilion will make you regret it." Jiang Zhengyi smiled faintly. Although his tone was calm, it contained a shocking murderous intent. It was calm, but the murderous intent was bone-piercing. This was the boldness of the pavilion master of the county of Yin. The old woman in green stood up and smiled coldly at Jiang Zhengyi. She shouted, "Wang Chuan, come down." A young man in black jumped down. His entire body was filled with a murderous aura. "A 1-star martial grandmaster?" Jiang Zhengyi frowned and said, "Lin Hao, you go." "Yes." Lin Hao nodded. However, just as Lin Hao took a step forward, Ling Yunfei said without turning his head, "Young Master Lin, just stay there and watch. I alone can deal with such a small character." Lin Hao and Wang Chuan raised their eyebrows at the same time. Lin Hao retreated to his original position and sneered, "If you dare to embarrass the county of Yin, I will be the first to come after you." Him? Ling Yunfei did not care. Where does his confidence come from? Qin Feiyang frowned. Wang Chuan was a 1-star martial grandmaster. His strength far exceeded Ling Yunfei's. It was not something that a perfect martial arts technique could make up for. I see. However, after thinking about it carefully, Qin Feiyang came to a realization. His brows relaxed and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. However, the people of the county of Pan were furious. A mere 9-star martial grandmaster dared to be so arrogant in front of a martial grandmaster. He did not know what was good for him. Wang Chuan, kill him. Yes, don't hold back. Blow his head off and show the people of the county of Yin how powerful we are. That's right. We must humiliate them and make them scram out of the county of Pan like stray dogs. Chapter 211. In the face of these thousands of screams, The eldest prince and the rest felt a great pressure, because under such an atmosphere, their state of mind was easily affected, and they could not exert their full strength. One must know, this was not a spar but a life and death gamble. If there was any mistake, they would be smashed to pieces. Looking at Wang Chuan opposite, with the people of Panwang City cheering him on, he was full of confidence and fighting spirit. The eldest prince shouted, "Let's not be idle. Cheer for Ling Yunfei." "No need." Qin Feiyong smiled faintly. "Yes?" Everyone frowned. "Trust him." There was a flash of light in Qin Feiyong's eyes. Ling Yunfei's back was facing him. Although he could not see Ling Yunfei's expression, he believed that with Ling Yunfei's current state of mind, he would not be disturbed by the noise outside during the battle. "I only need one move to kill you." Wang Chuan took a step forward and stared coldly at Ling Yunfei. "Is that so?" Ling Yunfei smiled sinisterly. The murderous aura around him was even more terrifying than before. Bang! He took the initiative to attack. He crouched down and charged at Wang Chuan like a mad bull. At the same time, Wang Chuan clenched his fist, which emitted a cracking sound. True qi pervaded the air and covered his fist. A powerful force rolled out like a tide. Seven Demons' Fist. Following closely, with a loud shout, he rushed towards Ling Yunfei and threw a punch. Bang! But at this moment, Ling Yunfei's aura suddenly soared. He actually broke through at this moment. No wonder he is so confident. The eldest prince and the rest were overjoyed. As long as Ling Yunfei successfully broke through, he would be able to defeat a one-star martial grandmaster. But wasn't his cultivation speed a little too fast? Except for a few people, no one knew that Ling Yunfei had opened the second level of potential. As such, they were extremely shocked. Rushing Thunder Kill Fist. In the blink of an eye, Ling Yunfei roared and threw a punch at Wang Chuan. In the meantime, his aura stopped at the level of a one-star martial ancestor. Boundless power poured out from his fist like a flood that had just broken through a dam. Thud. As soon as they collided, the two of them retreated explosively, and a trace of blood flowed out of the corners of their mouths. Wang Chuan's eyes were gloomy. It was because the other party was a 9-star martial master that he dared to say that he would kill him in one move. However, he didn't expect that. The other party had actually broken through to 1-star martial ancestor realm at the crucial moment. Furthermore, similarly, there were also perfect martial skills. "Looks like this will be a tough battle," he muttered to himself and stomped his foot on the ground, causing the place to explode. After stabilizing his body, Wang Chuan once again rushed towards Ling Yunfei. When clashing with someone of the same level, the key was to seize the initiative. Whoever made the first move would win. "I don't think this will be a bitter battle." Ling Yunfei took a step forward, his face full of ridicule. "Arrogant." Wang Chuan was furious. The Seven Fiends' Fist blasted out, bringing with it a shocking amount of fiendish qi. When they met, Ling Yunfei stretched out his arm, binding tiger hands. At this moment, his entire arm was like a soft poisonous snake that revealed its fangs, cleverly avoiding Wang Chuan's fist and grabbing Wang Chuan's wrist. At the same time, his other hand stretched out. His index finger was like an ice crystal, cold and biting cold, pointing towards Wang Chuan's chest. It was the ice crystal finger. Wang Chuan was shocked. He could actually grab his wrist? Could this be a martial skill? But in the next moment, he felt a pain in his chest. A heart-wrenching pain, like a tidal wave, rushed to his heart. He screamed and lowered his head to look. He found that there was a bloody hole on his chest, and blood spurted out like a fountain. "I said, this will not be a bitter battle." Ling Yunfei smiled disdainfully and kicked Wang Chuan's lower abdomen. Wang Chuan flew out with a painful howl and rolled at the feet of the old woman in green robes. His head tilted, and he died on the spot. Good. Powerful. The eldest prince and the others roared without caring about their status. It was really satisfying. However, the people of Panwang City quieted down. It was as if they had been slapped hard in the face, and they were a little angry from embarrassment. Not only did the other party win, but he also won so easily. It was completely a real-life version of a slap in the face. Ling Yunfei wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, looked up at the old woman in green robes, and said indifferently, "If this is Pan Jun's strength, I think there is indeed no need to continue the competition. You can't even beat a 16-year-old. Are you all good-for-nothings?" Xia Qianqian roared at the group of outstanding talents beside her in exasperation. She wanted to humiliate the people of Yin County. But after 2 battles, Pan Jun ended in a crushing defeat. Wasn't this clearly trying to embarrass her? Shame. What a great shame. Wolf King chuckled and said, "Little follower, now do you know what it means to ask for trouble?" Xia Qianqian was so angry that she roared, "Whoever can kill that ruffian wolf, this princess will reward 1,000,000 gold coins." Whoosh! Before she finished speaking, the group of outstanding talents on the city wall jumped down one after another. All of them were filled with murderous intent. Is Brother Wolf only worth 1,000,000? You have underestimated Brother Wolf. Wolf King's eyes began to change. The wolf's nature was rapidly awakening. Jiang Jingyi glanced at the group of people and said in a low voice, "Among them, there are 5 1-star martial ancestors, 2 2-star martial ancestors, and 1 3-star martial ancestor. Ling Yunfei is no match for them. Who will go and help?" Jia He said, "Pavilion Master Jiang, they are a little too much." "That's right. We are all children below the age of 20. There are many people over there who are all above the age of 20. If this goes on, I'm afraid they will even send people under the age of 30. Patriarch Lin said in a low voice. Jiang Jingyi smiled faintly and said, "If that is the case, this pavilion will teach them a lesson." Jia He and Patriarch Lin looked at each other with a trace of helplessness in their eyes. If they were in charge, they would have turned hostile long ago. "Bastard, hurry up and come back to die." The person who spoke was a young man in white, about 23 or 24 years old. He looked at the Wolf King with an arrogant expression. He was the 3-star martial ancestor that Jiang Jingyi had mentioned. Behind him, there were 2 young men of the same age. They were all dressed in luxurious clothes and had an extraordinary aura. It is the eldest son of the He family, He Jun. There is also the eldest son of the Zhang family, Zhang Jun, and the eldest son of the Mo family, Mo Hai. With the 3 of them, they will definitely be able to turn the tide. The surrounding crowd was extremely excited. Wolf King glanced at the 3 of them and sneakily ran to a burly man at the side. He asked, "Are the 3 of them very powerful?" "Of course. The He family, the Mo family, and the Zhang family are the 3 most powerful families in Kingpan City. I advise you to obediently go over and apologize. Otherwise, you will not have a good time." The burly man sneered. He had heard of it. He Jun and the other 2 immediately raised their heads and puffed out their chests. They were extremely arrogant. The most powerful family? This is a big deal. Wolf King laughed sinisterly and turned to look at the first prince and the rest. He said, "Don't do anything. Wolf King will go and meet them." What the hell? The first prince and the rest were stunned. Before they could react, Wolf King ran to Ling Yunfei's side and said with a sinister smile, "Ling brat, cooperate with brother Ling Yunfei and capture them alive." "Why?" Ling Yunfei was puzzled. "You will know in a while." Wolf King chuckled and raised his head to look at He Jun and the other 2. He said disdainfully, "Since you want to challenge Brother Wolf so much, Brother Wolf will give you a chance. Bring it on." Zhang Jun said sinisterly, "Later, I will skin you, chop you into pieces and barbecue you. Don't talk nonsense. Come at me together." Wolf King said indifferently, "That's right. It's too troublesome to come one by one." Ling Yunfei nodded. "Kill." He Jun and the rest were furious. The arrogant attitude of the man and the wolf had completely angered them. In an instant, their auras erupted. True Qi rolled, and with a shocking murderous aura, they attacked the man and the wolf. Wolf King stared at He Jun and the other 2. As for the rest, they were like air on the spot. Distance. They quickly closed in. Begin. When they were only 5 meters away, the Wolf King suddenly let out a low growl. Roar. Ling Yunfei immediately bent down and let out a loud lion's roar. But he was not venting his emotions. He was using the perfect martial arts technique, lion's roar. The lion's roar turned into a powerful sound wave, like a wave. rolling towards Hejun and the rest. When they were swept by the sound wave, the martial masters behind Hejun and the other two had blood spurting out of their ears. They hugged their heads and squatted on the ground, screaming. Even the 5 one-star martial grandmasters had their eardrums torn. The sound wave drilled into their minds, causing their faces to distort in extreme pain. Although Hejun and the other two had high cultivation, they were also affected. Their minds were buzzing. And at the same time that Ling Yunfei used the lion's roar, the Wolf King's 2 fan-like ears quickly drooped down and sealed up the holes in his ears. At the same time, his huge pupils burst out with a terrifying ferocity. Whoosh! Following closely, like an arrow, it suddenly shot out. In almost an instant, it arrived in front of Hejun. That seemingly soft tail was like a sharp thorn at this moment, directly piercing into Hejun's lower abdomen. Following that, it pierced through Zhang Jun and Imohai's lower abdomen. It was slow, but all of this happened in the blink of an eye. Even the few war emperors didn't have time to react. Hejun and the other two screamed and fell to the ground one after another. Their hands covered their lower abdomen, and their faces were filled with pain. Wolf King shouted, "Ling Brat, quickly come and help." Ling Yunfei stopped roaring and landed beside Wolf King. He took out 2 daggers and placed them on Zhang Jun and Imohai's necks. Wolf King also opened his bloody mouth, revealing his white fangs and biting Hejun's neck. At the same time, it used its mind to send a message to Hejun and the other two. If you don't want to die, behave yourself for Brother Wolf. The 3 of them trembled. The scene also fell into a dead silence. They never thought that this ruffian wolf's strength would be so strong. It probably already had the battle strength of a 3-star martial grandmaster. Qin Feiyang was also secretly shocked. Although the white-eyed wolf did not have any martial arts skills, his methods were definitely not to be underestimated. Haha, Jiahe and Patriarch Lin suddenly laughed out loud. There were dozens of people on the other side, and there was even a 3-star martial grandmaster. Chapter 212. The laughter of the two also woke up everyone present. Immediately, this place was in an uproar. Clamor rose from all directions, and the place was in an uproar. After the green-robed old woman came back to her senses, she glanced at the dozens of people lying on the ground with blood flowing out of their ears. Her old eyes immediately burned with anger. A bunch of useless trash. She angrily cursed, looked up at Ling Yunfei and Wolf King, and said gloomily, "Let them go." "Hey." Wolf King laughed sinisterly. "I can let them go, but prepare 50 million ransom for each person." "What? 50 million? The people of Pan County were all dumbfounded. This was clearly extortion. Zhang Jingyi's face twitched and said indifferently, "You guys go and help." The first prince and the others hurriedly ran over. Although Wolf King was a bit of a bastard, it was undeniable that it was really satisfying. After running to the side of the man and the wolf, Lin Hao and Shui Yang also took out their daggers and held Su Jun and Zhang Jun, reducing the burden on Ling Yunfei and Wolf King. Shui Yang shouted, "All of you get up." Su Jun and the other two endured the pain and got up from the ground. Zhang Jun gloomily said, "You guys are provoking the Earth Lord." Xie Fong directly slapped him and sneered, "If you dare to be arrogant again, I will let your Earth Lord's head move. You're dead." Zhang Jun stared at him with resentment and said word by word, "You still dare to threaten me? I will stab you to death now." Xie Fong took out a sharp dagger and ruthlessly stabbed into Zhang Jun's lower abdomen. "Ew!" Zhang Jun screamed miserably, his face distorted. Wolf King said with heartache, "He is worth 50 million gold coins. How can you do it?" Xie Fong said, "Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. He won't die." "That's good." Wolf King breathed a sigh of relief. "Zhang Jingyi, are you going to indulge them like this?" The green-robed old woman shouted. Zhang Jingyi smiled faintly and said, "You were the ones who provoked us first. Now that you've suffered a crushing defeat, you come to blame our pavilion. You can't be like this, do you understand?" The green-robed old woman's withered hands were tightly clenched together, killing intent lurking in her eyes. More than 29 star martial masters, 6 1-star martial great lords, 2 2-star martial great lords, and 1 3-star martial great lord had all been killed by one man and one wolf. This time, it was really embarrassing. Cut the crap. Old witch, don't even think about getting him back without a ransom of 150 million. Wolf King roared arrogantly. The old woman in green said, there is no ransom. If you have the guts, then kill them. Provoking Brother Wolf? Wolf King turned to look at Su Jun and the other two and said regretfully, I wanted to let you guys go, but there's no other way. That old witch won't save you, so Brother Wolf has to send you guys to the afterlife. The three people's faces changed. Wolf King continued, but if you're willing to be Brother Wolf's followers, no, you're not qualified to be followers anymore. It's okay to be a human pet. As long as you agree, Brother Wolf can consider sparing your lives. Human pet? The three people's faces suddenly flushed red. As the young masters of the three big families, they usually had limitless glory. When had they suffered such humiliation? Wolf King said, if you don't agree, then Brother Wolf can only kill you. Stop. But at this moment, 3 light figures broke through the air and landed beside the green-robed old woman. They were 3 middle-aged men, wearing gorgeous clothes and looking quite dignified. The Wolf King turned his head and looked over. He stood up like a human and shouted arrogantly, where did this old dog come from? Quickly tell me your name. The 3 people frowned. Was this beast looking for death? Father, kill them quickly. Jun and the other 2 were ecstatic and looked at the 3 middle-aged men. So it's their father. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. In the entire Yin city, only the ancestor of the Lin family was the war emperor. However, in Panwang City, the patriarchs of the 3 great families were all war emperors. The difference between the 2 counties was really a bit big. Wolf King laughed sinisterly and shouted, you came at the right time. Each of you hand over 50 million gold coins, and Brother Wolf will return them to you. He wasn't afraid at all just because the other party was a war emperor. Even if you don't have the gold coins, you still have to let them go. As for you, kneel down and apologize immediately. This patriarch will spare your life. The man in the middle said expressionlessly. It was the patriarch of the He family. Ouch! Wolf King let out a strange cry and said, so awesome? Ling Brat, cut off one of his arms. All right. Ling Yunfei waved his hand, and the dagger's edge swept in all directions, directly cutting off Jun's right arm. Jun screamed in pain and roared at the top of his lungs. Father, save me! Patriarchy's face darkened, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. Brother Wolf said shyly, don't look at Brother Wolf like that. Brother Wolf will be shy. Qin Feiyang and the others rolled their eyes. The people of Panwang City, on the other hand, were all frowning and gnashing their teeth in hatred. A single wolf had actually caused such a commotion in Panwang City. It was truly a great humiliation. Who taught this shameless bastard? Boom. The 3 patriarchs released their might at the same time and rushed towards Wolf King's group. On the other hand, the old woman in green robes relaxed. She returned to the city wall and watched the show coldly. Previous chapter, next chapter, boom. But at this moment, an even more powerful pressure pounced towards the 3 patriarchs like mountains and seas. The 3 patriarchs were shocked and hurriedly raised their heads to look. When they saw Jiang Zhengyi, their pupils suddenly contracted. Greetings, Lord. The 3 of them hurriedly bowed. I don't dare. My pavilion can't afford it. Jiang Zhengyi smiled faintly. Upon hearing the 2 words, this pavilion, the 3 of them guessed Jiang Zhengyi's identity. Patriarch, he cupped his hands and said, Pavilion Master Jiang, I wonder how my son offended you. Patriarch Zhang said, if it is indeed my son's fault, my Zhang family is willing to compensate. Patriarch Imo said, but if not, we need Pavilion Master Jiang to give us a satisfactory explanation. You want an explanation? This pavilion will give it to you now. After Jiang Zhengyi finished speaking, he raised his arm and pointed his finger in the air. Boom! A terrifying aura suddenly erupted like a volcano. At the same time, a battle chi swept out from his fingertip. The faces of the 3 patriarchs suddenly changed, and they hurriedly dodged to the side. The old woman in green robes also turned pale. She rolled up Xia Qianqian and a few guards beside her and soared into the air. Boom! That battle Qi blasted on the city wall, accompanied by an earth-shaking loud noise. The front city wall instantly turned into ashes. The people of Panwang City were all dumbfounded. The city wall was the face of a city. Destroying the city wall was slapping Panwang City's face, blaspheming the capital city. Qin Feiyong and the rest were also stunned. They really did not expect that Jiang Jingyi was actually so domineering, attacking unscrupulously in front of countless people and destroying the capital city's city wall. This kind of action was provoking Panwang City. Jiang Jingyi said with a smile, "This is the pavilion's explanation. Are you satisfied?" The faces of the three patriarchs and the old woman in green robes were so gloomy that water was about to drip out. The old woman in green robes said, "Pavilion Master Jiang, do you know that your actions may provoke the flames of war between our two counties? This pavilion will accompany you at any time." Jiang Jingyi smiled faintly, looked at a certain place in the city, and said with a smile, "You few old fellows, haven't you seen enough? Do you want to wait for this pavilion to tear down Panwang City before you are willing to come out?" And Qin Feiyong was surprised and looked in the direction of Jiang Jingyi's gaze, only to see four light figures fly out from the city and stand above the ruins in front of them. "Younger brother Jiang, what made you so angry?" The four of them looked at Jiang Jingyi with a smile. Jiang Jingyi smiled faintly and said, "Can you come down? This pavilion is not used to speaking to others with my head held high." "Oh you, after so many years, your bad temper still hasn't changed at all." The four of them smiled helplessly and landed on the ground. "Greetings, lords." The people around them knelt and bowed. The three patriarchs bowed as well. Seeing this scene, Qin Feiyong shook his head and sighed. As expected, no matter how powerful a family was, they would not dare to compete with the four major factions. And those four were without a doubt the four superpowers of Panwang City. One of the white-haired old men said, "Younger brother Jiang, can you give us some face and ask your subordinates to go easy on us? Is there such a good thing?" Elder Hua and Princess Xia went to Yin County and suffered a little, but at least we did not stop them outside the city. This time, it was you who challenged Yin County and made us come to Panwang City. Very well. Yin County is magnanimous and will not argue with you, but we came all the way here, and you are making things difficult for us. I would like to ask, what are you trying to do?" Jiang Jingyi said faintly. King Pan smiled and said, "This is just a child's mischief." "Younger brother Jiang, you wouldn't argue with a child, would you?" "I don't mind a child's mischief, but I don't understand why you didn't invite us into the city first. Could it be that in Lord Pan's eyes, our pavilion is also just an insignificant character, not even qualified to step into Panwang City?" Jiang Jingyi's expression began to change. King Pan smiled apologetically and said, "Younger brother Jiang, please calm down. This is all a misunderstanding." "Misunderstanding?" Jiang Jingyi said. "But why do I feel that your daughter doesn't care about us at all?" King Pan's face darkened and he shouted, "Qianqian, come down and apologize to Pavilion Lord Jiang. Don't play games. Give me something real." Jiang Jingyi waved his hand and pointed at Hejun and the other two. He smiled faintly and said, 100 million gold coins each for these three. No bargaining. Jiang Jingyi, don't go too far. Panwang City is indeed in the wrong this time, but you have also killed two of my martial arts geniuses and destroyed the city walls of Panwang City. Let's call it even now. If this continues, it won't be good for either of us. It will hurt our friendship. The eyes of the four giants of Panwang City were slightly gloomy. Do we still have any friendship now? Furthermore, are those two martial arts geniuses? Don't joke around. They are more like idiots. Jia He, an old ancestor Lin sneered. The four giants raised their eyebrows. King Pan nodded and said, "All right, I agree. I will give you 300 million gold coins. Please let them go immediately." Jiang Jingyi smiled and said, "I don't trust Panwang City's character. We will let them go once we get the gold coins." 300 million gold coins is too much. I need some time. King Pan frowned. It's fine. We don't have much, but we do have a lot of time. Jiang Jingyi shook his head and smiled. Guards! King Pan shouted. Immediately, A few guards ran to King Pan's side. King Pan said, "Bring the guests from the county of Yen to the flower brothel." Yes. Chapter 213. The Flower Brothel. It was the largest and most luxurious restaurant in Pan Royal City. The people who came here were basically the children of wealthy families. But now, the royal family of Pan County spent a lot of money and booked the entire flower brothel as Qin Feiyang's place to stay. In the lobby, "I'm going to rest. If you want to go out, report to Elder Jia and Ancestor Lin first," Zhang Jingyi said, then walked up to the second floor and entered a private room. For 8 days, he led everyone on the road without stopping. Even with his cultivation, he was a little tired. Ling Yunfei asked, "Qingzhu, has your father always been so domineering?" "I don't know." Luo Qingzhu shook her head. It seemed that she didn't like this arrogant father of hers. Qin Feiyang looked at Luo Qingzhu and said with a smile, "I'm going to wash up." White-eyed Wolf, "Go up." Wolf King said, "Brother Wolf wants to go out for a walk." Zhao Shuang teased, "If you run out now, you will definitely be cut into pieces by the people here." The eldest prince and the others all looked at him with gloating eyes. "TSK, is Brother Wolf afraid of them?" Wolf King's eyes were full of disdain. Qin Feiyang said, "Stop talking nonsense. Follow me up or go to the castle. Choose for yourself." "You win." The Wolf King bared its fangs and glared at him, then unwillingly followed Qin Feiyang to the second floor. He really didn't want to go to that damned place. "It's been a long journey. I'll go wash up too," Ling Yunfei said and chased after Qin Feiyang and Wolf King. Jia He looked at the backs of the two people and the wolf, and a cold light flashed in the depths of his old eyes. He said to the eldest prince and the others, "You guys go wash up too?" "What about the three of them?" The eldest prince pointed at He-jun and the others. "Jia He, Ancestor Lin and I will watch here. Then I'll have to trouble you too." The first prince and the others cupped their hands and smiled, then walked up to the second floor one after another, each entering a room. After everyone entered the room, Jia He looked at Patriarch Lin and said meaningfully, "Brother Lin, this is a good opportunity." "What opportunity?" Old Ancestor Lin's eyes flashed, and he looked at him in confusion. Jia He smiled faintly and said, "We're all smart people. Why play dumb?" "I really don't know what Elder Jia is referring to." Old Ancestor Lin shook his head and smiled. Jia He said indifferently, "Looks like Brother Lin is prepared to swallow this resentment. Since that's the case, let's pretend that I didn't say anything." Old Ancestor Lin smiled and lowered his head in silence. His eyes flickered. Inside the room, Qin Feiyang washed up and changed into a clean set of clothes. Then, he brought Fatso and Lu Hong out of the ancient castle. Fatso went to the listless Wolf King and chuckled. "Brother Wolf, you even dared to threaten the Battle Emperor. You're really Fat Lord's idol." Wolf King said proudly, "Of course. I'll learn more from Brother Wolf in the future." The man and Wolf started talking nonsense. On the other side, Lu Hong asked while making tea, "Do you have any plans?" Qin Feiyang said, "Although the people in Pan County already know about the potential pill, they definitely don't know about the herbs for the potential pill. You and Fatso go to the Precious Treasure Pavilion immediately and take as many as you can." Apart from him and Fatso, only Zhang Jingyi and Stewardly knew about the 33 herbs for the potential pill. Zhang Jingyi and Stewardly would definitely not leak out such an important pill. "Why are you in such a hurry?" Lu Hong was suspicious. "I don't want Zhang Jingyi to beat me to it." Qin Feiyang sighed. "He'll also buy herbs?" Lu Hong furrowed her brows. "Of course. He's a businessman. He won't let go of this good opportunity to make money. You'd better disguise yourselves. After all, the two of you are considered celebrities." Qin Feiyang smiled. "I understand." Lu Hong nodded. She got up and looked at Fatso. She frowned and said, "Stop fooling around. Get ready. We'll go to the Precious Treasure Pavilion immediately." "Okay," Fatso replied. He took out a phantom pill and changed his appearance. Then, he and Lu Hong jumped out of the window of the room. Seeing Fatso and Stewardly leave, Wolf King was envious. He begged, "Little Qinzi, let Brother Wolf go out for a walk. I promise I won't cause trouble." "Your promise is as good as bullshit." Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes at him and took out hundreds of top-grade qi-gathering pills. Hurry up and cultivate. Try to break through to the next level before the friendly competition. At that time, you can do whatever you want. I don't care. Wolf King cheered up and said, You have to keep your word. Qin Feiyong nodded. Wolf King finally calmed down. He lay in front of the qi-gathering pills and began to refine them one by one. Qin Feiyong felt helpless. Only in this way could he make this guy stop. Knock, knock. At this moment, there was a knock on the door. Qin Feiyong got up and opened the door. His body suddenly stiffened. He thought it was Ling Yunfei or Luo Qingzhu. It turned out to be a white-haired old man. He was one of the 4 supergiants in Pan County. Senior. Qin Feiyong cupped his hands and saluted. The white-haired old man laughed and said, Aren't you going to invite me in? Please come in. Qin Feiyong retreated to the side. There was a thoughtful look in his eyes. The white-haired old man walked into the room. As soon as he saw the pile of top-grade pills in front of Wolf King, his old eyes bloomed with a bright light. Qin Feiyong closed the door and said with a smile, Senior, this way please. The white-haired old man withdrew his gaze with difficulty and followed Qin Feiyong into the tea room. Senior, please sit. Qin Feiyong pointed to the seat. The white-haired old man sat down and leaned on the chair. He curiously looked at Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong didn't say anything. He lowered his head and made tea. After a few breaths, the white-haired old man asked, Aren't you curious about my identity? Qin Feiyong poured a cup of tea and pushed it in front of the white-haired old man. He smiled faintly and said, In the entire Pan County, other than the Danwang Hall, only the precious treasure pavilion would be so anxious to find me. The white-haired old man said with interest, Then tell me, am I the hall master of the Danwang Hall or the precious treasure pavilion? Qin Feiyong smiled and said, Senior, when you saw the top-grade pills in front of Wolf King, the look in your eyes showed that you were evaluating the value of those pills. This means that you are the chief pavilion master of the precious treasure pavilion in Pan County. The white-haired old man was a little stunned. How could he see through that? This kid's eyes were too sharp, weren't they? He gave a thumbs up and laughed. Qin Feiyong's name is indeed well-deserved. Qin Feiyong smiled faintly and said, Senior, you flatter me. Please have some tea. The white-haired old man picked up the teacup and took a sip before putting it down. He said, Then guess why I'm here? Senior, aren't you deliberately making things difficult for me? Qin Feiyong shook his head and smiled bitterly. The white-haired old man said, If you guess it, I'll leave immediately. If you don't, you have to promise me one thing. How about it? If that's the case, it's worth a guess. Qin Feiyong smiled and said without hesitation, If I'm not wrong, you're here to understand the potential pill, right? The white-haired old man was stunned. Qin Feiyong smiled and said, Looks like I guessed it by luck. Seeing Qin Feiyong's confident smile, the white-haired old man could not help but smile bitterly. This kid must have already seen through his intentions when he saw him. He was the chief pavilion master of the precious treasure pavilion, but he was tricked by a kid. What should he do now? If he released it, he could not deny it, right? Qin Feiyong said, To be honest, Pavilion Master Jiang also knows the herbs for the potential pill. Why don't you look for him? After all, you're old friends. He might tell you. Him? The white-haired old man raised his eyebrows and shook his head. I don't want to be snubbed. Little brother, if you tell me, I'll give you a set of herbs for free. A set? Qin Feiyong sneered secretly. Was he trying to dismiss a beggar? One set was not enough to satisfy him. What he wanted was all the herbs for the potential pill in the precious treasure pavilion of Pan County. Senior, everything else can be discussed, but this is the only thing I hope you can understand. He cupped his hands and smiled calmly. If you think it's not enough, I can give you a few sets of herbs for the red fireglaze pill. The white-haired old man said, Senior, there's really no other way. Qin Feiyong shook his head and said, Sigh. The white-haired old man sighed deeply and smiled. Since that's the case, I won't disturb you anymore. His smile was very forced. He was very reluctant. If Jiang Jingyi was not around, he would probably threaten and tempt him. Qin Feiyong said, Take care. I won't see you out. The white-haired old man had just gotten up when he said, "By the way, there's something I need your help with," Qin Feiyong said. "Senior, just say it." The white-haired old man said, "I'd like to ask you to help me refine some supreme-grade red fire glaze pills." "I'm afraid that won't do." Qin Feiyong shook his head. "I heard from Chantian that you're helping the major factions in Yin City refine pills, and you get a 50-50 cut. I'll split it with you as well. How about that?" The white-haired old man asked, unwilling to give up. "No. The friendly match between our two counties is about to begin. If I help you refine supreme-grade red fire glaze pills, it'll be the same as helping Pan County improve its strength. That's not good for Yin County. As a member of Yin County, I won't put Yin County in danger for my own benefit. So, please don't make things difficult for me, Senior." Qin Feiyong cupped his fists and said. The white-haired old man was very frustrated. How could this kid see the problem so clearly? He was indeed refining supreme-grade red fire glaze pills for the friendly match, because once the participants took the supreme-grade red fire glaze pills, their cultivation would skyrocket. By then, Pan County would definitely beat Yin County. He originally thought that Qin Feiyong would agree to such an attractive condition without hesitation, but he didn't expect that he would still be rejected by Qin Feiyong. He frowned and said, "I don't get it. Why would you give up your wealth for Yin County?" "Because I want to repay a debt of gratitude." Qin Feiyong smiled faintly. "Repay a debt of gratitude?" The white-haired old man's frown deepened. "When I was in danger back then, it was the Martial Imperial Hall of Yin County that stepped up to protect me. I can't let them down." Qin Feiyong smiled and said, "One shouldn't bite the hand that feeds them." "I understand. Sorry to bother you." The white-haired old man smiled and didn't continue to pester him. He walked to the door and opened it, meeting Jiang Jingyi face to face. "Your Yin County is really lucky to have produced such a loyal and righteous young man. However, if you lose this match, then Qin Feiyong will belong to our Pan County in the future." The white-haired old man looked at Jiang Jingyi and said coldly before leaving, "The match hasn't started yet. Who knows who will win?" Jiang Jingyi whispered and walked into the room. He smiled and said, "I heard the conversation between you and old Kong just now. I was right. You're a good kid. No wonder Qianxue likes you so much." Qin Feiyong felt a bit awkward. Chapter 2:14. Why do you look so weird? Jiang Jingyi sized up Qin Feiyong with a trace of suspicion on his face. Qin Feiyong laughed dryly and said, "It's nothing. I just feel a little embarrassed to be praised like that." "There are times when you feel embarrassed too? What a surprise." Jiang Jingyi shook his head and teased, "I have something to do outside. Don't run around if you have nothing to do. Cultivate well." Qin Feiyong nodded. Jiang Jingyi turned and left. Qin Feiyong also walked out of the room and stood in the corridor outside. He looked at Jia He and Great Ancestor Lin in the hall with flickering eyes. He did not dare to say anything about Great Ancestor Lin, but Jia He would definitely not let him return to the county of Yin so easily. It seemed that he had to be wary of that person in the future. Just as he was about to turn and enter the room, the doors of the rooms next door opened. The first prince and the others walked out, all dressed to the nines. The first prince smiled and said, "Brother Qin, we're going out for a walk. Do you want to come with us?" Qin Feiyong smiled faintly and said, "You guys go ahead. I want to rest for a while." "All right then. Have a good rest. Everyone, let's go." The first prince called out and led Shuiyang and the others to the first floor, chatting and laughing. Qin Feiyong walked into the room and closed the door. He shook his head and said, "You're still in the mood to walk around now? You really don't have any awareness at all." "You do have awareness, but it's too boring." Wolf King looked at him in disdain. "For me, there's nothing more important than increasing my own strength." Qin Feiyong smiled and sat beside Wolf King. He grabbed a chi-amassing pill, threw it into his mouth, and entered a state of cultivation. He had not been idle during the 8 days of traveling. He had been cultivating all the time. He felt that his cultivation was about to break through again. Soon, Ling Yunfei, Feng Ling Er, Luo Qingzhu, and Zhao Shuang came to see him. They also planned to go out for a stroll. However, when they saw that Qin Feiyong was cultivating, they changed their minds. They asked Qin Feiyong for some qi-gathering pills, and then returned to their rooms to make a final effort. Meanwhile, a man and a woman, two unfamiliar faces, entered Pan Jun's treasure pavilion. It was Fatso and Lu Hong in disguise. Furthermore, the two of them had disguised themselves as middle-aged men. "Is there anything I can help you with?" A staff member walked up and asked politely with a smile. "Fat Lord." Fatso had just opened his mouth. Lu Hong coughed dryly and said to the staff member with a smile, "We have a big deal. Please take us to see your manager." "Big deal?" The staff member looked at the two suspiciously. Seeing that they didn't seem to be lying, he smiled and said, "Please come with me." The staff member led the way. Fatso and Lu Hong followed side by side. Lu Hong said in a low voice, "Hurry up and change that catchphrase. If it's because of you, don't blame me for being rude." "Got it." Fatso smiled embarrassedly. On the second floor, in a VIP room, a middle-aged man sat in front of the desk. He wore a fitting white robe and was about 30 years old. There were strands of white hair on his temples, giving him a vicissitude aura. Knock, knock. The staff member came to the door and knocked gently. "Who is it?" The middle-aged man in white asked. "Manager Wang, two guests want to see you." The staff member said, "Let them in." Manager Wang said. After Fatty and Lu Hong walked in, Steward Wang raised his head and looked at them. He smiled and said, "Is there anything you need from me?" Lu Hong closed the door, cupped her hands and smiled. "We're here to buy some herbs." Manager Wang said, "Show me the list." Lu Hong looked at Fatso. Fatty walked to the desk, took out 3 pieces of blank paper, and began to write at a rapid pace. There were 11 herbs on each piece of paper. Manager Wang looked at them one by one and said in surprise, "These herbs are very precious." In other words, "Do you have so much money?" Lu Hong smiled. "We want as much as you have. As for the price, you can give us a discount." "He's a big client." Manager Wang's heart skipped a beat, and he asked calmly, "Both of you look unfamiliar. Is this your first time in Panwang City?" "We're from Haiyun City, and this is indeed our first time in Panwang City." "May I know what you mean by that?" "I remember that the Treasure Pavilion's rule is that we can't pry into the privacy of our customers." Lu Hong smiled faintly. Haiyun City was another city in Pan County. Haiyun City's status in Pan County was equivalent to Yin County's Xingyue City. The two of them had inquired about this information on their way here. "I'm the one who has offended you." Manager Wang smiled apologetically. "Please wait for a moment. I'll make the arrangements now." He got up and walked to the door, opened it, and strode out. Lu Hong looked back and asked doubtfully, "Fatso, why did you split the herbs for the potential pill into 3 lists?" Fatso smiled slyly. "Of course it's to deceive others." Lu Hong was enlightened. There were 33 herbs for the potential pill. If they were listed in one list, this might arouse Manager Wang's suspicions. As the manager of the Treasure Pavilion, he was very familiar with the herbs for all kinds of pills. So, writing down the 33 herbs separately could dispel many of the other party's doubts. After a while, Manager Wang returned to the VIP room, took out a chinkuan bag and placed it on the desk, smiling. "The herbs you want are all inside." Fatty took a closer look and frowned. "That's all? You still think it's not enough?" Manager Wang was stunned and smiled bitterly. "To be honest, this is all the inventory of the Treasure Pavilion." Fatso was a little disappointed. Lu Hong smiled. "Then senior, name a price." Manager Wang stretched out a finger and said, "A total of 100 million. 100 million. Lu Hong was shocked and turned to look at Fatso. Wasn't it very little? Why was it 100 million? One had to know. The last time Manager Li took out all the inventory, it was only 30 million. Fatso waved his hand. "Give him the gold coins." Lu Hong frowned and took out the chinkuan bag. After paying the gold coins, she kept the list and left. They really are 2 rich people. But when did Haiyun City have such rich people? Looking at their strength, they don't seem to be very strong. They're probably from a big family who came out to purchase herbs on behalf of their family. Thinking of this, Manager Wang smiled in relief and didn't think too much about it. And Lu Hong snatched the chinkuan bag the moment she walked out of the Treasure Pavilion. She was really puzzled. How many herbs were there in it? She didn't know if she didn't look, but she was shocked when she saw it. There were at least thousands of herbs in the Chinkuan bag. Moreover, there were even the most precious 9 suns flower, snow crystal, and fire ginseng. If Fat Lord didn't say that, how would we know if he gave us all the inventory? Little girl, you're still too inexperienced. Learn from him in the future. Fatso laughed sinisterly. Lu Hong rolled her eyes. This damn Fatso was really treacherous. But she didn't expect that Pan County would have so many herbs. This time, it was really a fruitful trip. Fatso was so proud that he didn't notice someone walking in front of him. That person also lowered his head, thinking about something. Bang! The two bumped into each other. Who are you? Don't you have eyes? Fatso was furious on the spot. He took a step back and glared at the man. It was a middle-aged man, wearing a white robe, with an outstanding temperament. I'm sorry. The middle-aged man, on the other hand, was very polite. He smiled apologetically at the fatty. Then, he walked past Fatso and went straight into the treasure pavilion. Fatso frowned and said, "What's wrong with this person?" Lu Hong glared at him and said, "Don't just blame others. Didn't you walk without looking? Let's go back and report to Qin Feiyang." Fatso's eyes lit up and he laughed. Boss will be very happy when he knows. The two of them walked away and quickly disappeared into the crowd. And the middle-aged man, after entering the treasure pavilion, went straight to Manager Wang. In the VIP room, Manager Wang looked up at the man and asked puzzledly, "May I ask why you're looking for me?" "I want these herbs." The middle-aged man took out 2 lists and smiled faintly. Manager Wang took them and checked them one by one. A trace of doubt crept into his eyes. "What's wrong?" the middle-aged man asked, seeming a little nervous. Manager Wang said, "The herbs on this list were all bought by someone just now." "How is that possible?" The middle-aged man's eyes widened. Manager Wang asked suspiciously, "Brother, the herbs on your list are exactly the same as the ones they listed. Could it be that you know each other?" "Impossible. How could anyone in Pan County know the herbs for the potential pill? Could it be him?" The middle-aged man's gaze trembled and he smiled at Manager Wang. "Yes, we know each other. I just didn't expect them to be here first. Sorry to disturb you." "It's fine." Manager Wang shook his head and smiled, returning the list to the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man immediately left in a hurry. There seemed to be a trace of anger in his eyes. Not long after the middle-aged man left, a white-haired old man entered the VIP room. Manager Wang hurriedly greeted him and asked, "What took you so long?" The white-haired old man sat next to the tea table and smiled. After coming out of the flower brothel, this old man went to the palace again to discuss the time of the friendly competition with King Pan. Manager Wang nodded and said, "Did Qin Feiyang tell you the herbs for the potential pill?" "That kid is very smart. He didn't say anything. He also didn't help us refine the best quality scarlet glazed pill." The white-haired old man shook his head helplessly. "You went to him personally, and he refused to say anything. That kid doesn't know what's good for him." Manager Wang frowned. "What can we do? With Zhang Zhengyi around, this old man doesn't dare to force him." However, if this old man didn't guess wrong, Qin Feiyang should be trying to buy all the herbs at a low price while we don't know about it. So, from now on, whether it's Qin Feiyang or Zhang Zhengyi, as long as they come to buy herbs, they won't be sold. If there's a chance, let's see if we can get something out of them." The white-haired old man said, "Okay." Manager Wang nodded. However, the two didn't know that they were too late. Chapter 215. Flower Brothel. Inside the room, Qin Feiyang looked at the Chinkuan bag in his hand, his eyes shining. Fatso and Lu Hong had already restored their true appearance, standing next to him, recounting their experience in the treasure pavilion. After listening, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but laugh. Fatso and Lu Hong's ability to do things was really beyond his expectations. In the future, he could completely rest assured and leave these matters to the two of them to handle. Fatty chuckled and said, "Boss, we've made a great contribution this time. Shouldn't you reward us?" Qin Feiyang's face twitched, nodding with a smile. "Sure, but the premise is that if I give you a reward now, don't ask me for a potential pill in the future." Fatso was quite happy at first, but when he heard the latter part of the sentence, his face suddenly changed, and he quickly waved his hand. This reward, Fat Lord still doesn't want it. Lu Hong covered her mouth and snickered at the side. Swoosh. Suddenly, a white figure flew through the window and landed in front of Qin Feiyang and the other two. Qin Feiyang was startled and immediately became vigilant. How could it be you? But when Fatso saw the person's true appearance, he revealed a look of surprise. Lu Hong was the same. Qin Feiyang looked at the man, suspiciously looked at Fatso and Lu Hong, and asked, "You know each other?" Fatso said. When Fat Lord left the treasure pavilion, he bumped into Fat Lord. When the middle-aged man heard this, anger immediately crept onto his face and he said, "It really is you guys. Qin Feiyang, you're really amazing. You just entered Kingpan City, and you immediately made the two of them sweep away all the medicinal ingredients." And Fatso and Lu Hong looked at each other, frowning. Qin Feiyang looked at the middle-aged man for a moment and suddenly realized something and said with a smile, "Senior, you can't blame me, you are too slow. What's going on?" Fatso glanced at the two of them and suddenly thought of something. He asked in surprise, "Could it be that you're Pavilion Master Jiang? What do you think?" The middle-aged man glared coldly at Fatso and swallowed a facial restoration pill. Who else could it be but Jiang Jingyi when he regained his true appearance? Haha, Fatso couldn't help but burst into laughter. Lu Hong bowed and smiled. "Senior Jiang, I'm really sorry for bumping into you just now." Jiang Jingyi said angrily, "That's not the point. The point is, do you three bastards still have any respect for me?" Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Senior, we have always kept you in our hearts." Right, right, right. Fatso lowered his head again and again. His face was full of smiles. Jiang Jingyi gritted his teeth in anger as he looked at the three of them. Originally, he wanted to continue resting after the white-haired old man left. However, when he thought that Qin Feiyang might also be interested in those herbs, he immediately went to the treasure pavilion. In order not to attract attention, he even changed his appearance and walked there. However, he was still a step too late. Qin Feiyang said carefully, "Senior, we're competing fairly and using our own methods. You won't bully the weak, right?" Jiang Jingyi said playfully, "What if I bully the weak?" Qin Feiyang said, "If you're unreasonable, then there's nothing I can do." Humph. Jiang Jingyi snorted and rolled his eyes at him. He asked, "How many herbs did you get?" Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, "I don't know yet, but it shouldn't be much." Jiang Jingyi said, "Don't try to fool me. Let me tell you, everyone has a share. No matter what, you have to give me some." Qin Feiyang was a little helpless. He smiled faintly and said, "How about this? You pay 10 times the price and I'll sell them all to you. Why don't you just rob me?" Jiang Jingyi gritted his teeth. 10 times? To think that this kid could say it. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Senior, since we've already talked about it, why don't we cooperate? Don't try to change the topic." Jiang Jingyi said angrily, but after thinking, he asked again, "How?" Qin Feiyang said, "Let me ask first, Senior. When you went to the treasure pavilion, did you say anything? Do I look like such a stupid person to you?" Jiang Jingyi said angrily, "Then it's easy. Other than Panking City, there are other cities in Pan County. For example, the treasure pavilion in Haiyun City must have herbs for the potential pill. Why don't we visit all the treasure pavilions in Pan County before the friendly competition starts?" Qin Feiyang smiled and said, in fact, he had this idea from the beginning. However, because he and Fatso were too slow, they couldn't rush to other cities in a short time. Jiang Jingyi was different. With his speed, he estimated that he could visit all the cities in Pan County in less than a day. "That's a good idea. Kid, thank you for your reminder. When I come back, I'll give you some." Jiang Jingyi's eyes revealed a sinister smile. Fatso said angrily, "Senior, what do you mean? You want to take it all for yourself? What else? Don't tell me you want to share." "No way. I'll tell you." Jiang Jingyi snorted coldly. "You're too immoral." Fatso was indignant. Qin Feiyang reached out to stop Fatso and looked at Jiang Jingyi with a smile. "Senior, if you insist on doing this, I won't dare to have any objections. But if the chief pavilion master of Pan County knows about those herbs, I'm afraid you won't get what you want." Seeing Qin Feiyang and the other two suffer, Zhang Jingyi was a little proud. However, when he heard the latter part, his face changed and he said angrily, "Are you threatening me?" Qin Feiyang waved his hand and said, "No, no, no, it's not a threat. It's a win-win situation. I'm not going overboard. Let's split the profits. You get 60%. I get 40%. Lu Hong said with a smile. Pavilion Master Jiang, we've already given in. We're not letting you down. Zhang Jingyi frowned. A moment later, he looked at Qin Feiyang and shook his head. I get 70%, you get 30%. If you agree, it's a deal. Qin Feiyang thought and said, if that's the case, we won't be responsible for the gold coins used to buy the herbs. You'll bear it alone? Bastard. You want to get something for nothing? Zhang Jingyi was furious. Qin Feiyang said with a smile, Senior, you won't lose anything. Everyone wants the potential pill, and it'll definitely be sold for a good price. Then tell me, who would be willing to sell the potential pill? Cut the crap. Let's split the profits 30 to 70. We'll each pay half of the gold coins used to buy the herbs. If you agree, we'll set off immediately. Zhang Jingyi waved his hand impatiently. Qin Feiyang frowned and nodded. Okay, deal. Lu Hong, go with Senior Jiang. Okay. Lu Hong nodded. Zhang Jingyi said angrily, Did you send her to spy on me? Qin Feiyang chuckled. Look at what you're saying. It's too hurtful. I sent her to help Senior. Hypocrite. Zhang Jingyi glanced at him with disdain. After a slight disguise, Zhang Jingyi jumped out of the window with Lu Hong and quickly disappeared into the crowd. Fatso said unhappily, Boss, isn't it too much of a loss for us to split the profits 30 to 70? What's the hurry? In the entire Great Qin Empire, I'm the only one who knows how to refine the potential pill. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. That's right. Fatso came to a realization and couldn't help but smile evilly. No matter how many medicinal herbs Zhang Jingyi obtained, in the end, wouldn't he still have to ask Boss Qin to help him refine it? According to the old rules, they could split the profits 50 to 50. At that time, they could make a huge profit. But suddenly, he frowned again. That's not right, boss. How can you be so sure that you're the only one who knows how to refine it in the Great Qin Empire? Qin Feiyang smiled and didn't answer. In the imperial capital, what kind of pills had he not heard of? There was no such thing as a potential pill. If he hadn't encountered the pill scripture, he wouldn't have known that there was such a pill in the world. If even the imperial capital didn't have it, it was naturally impossible for other places to have it. In the evening, Jia He called everyone to the hall. The eldest prince and the others who went out for a stroll had also returned. Everyone sat around the table. Old Ancestor Lin glanced at everyone and asked, Have you seen Pavilion Master Jiang? Everyone shook their heads. Qin Feiyang and Wolf King were also silent. Zhao Shuanger smiled. He should have something to do and went out. He didn't even say anything when he went out. He really has no discipline at all. Jia He snorted coldly in dissatisfaction. Luo Qingzhu frowned and said coldly, Does he need to report to you when he goes out? What right do you have to say that he has no discipline? Jia He raised his head and looked at Luo Qingzhu. A cold light flashed in his eyes, but in the end, he said, I spoke too much. I'm sorry. Others didn't know, but he knew very well. Zhang Jingyi loved this daughter very much. If he dared to do anything to Luo Qingzhu, Zhang Jingyi would definitely not let him go. Cough, cough. Old Ancestor Lin coughed and said with a smile, It's not a big deal. There's no need to alarm Pavilion Master Jiang. As he spoke, he took out a Qingquan bag from his bosom and threw it on the table. He smiled faintly and said, This is the ransom for He Jun and the other two. 300 million gold coins, not a word less. In addition, there's one more thing to announce. The friendly competition will begin in half a month. This old man hopes that in this half a month, you won't run around and strive to raise your strength to another level. Also, according to our investigation, those people who fought with you outside the city today are not the ones who are going to compete with you. They are just the more outstanding young people in Panwang City. None of the people who are going to fight with you on the field have appeared. They are all cultivating in seclusion. As for their strength, Panwang and the others have deliberately sealed it off. We can't find out. So, You must not let your guard down. Old Ancestor Lin warned with a solemn expression. Everyone couldn't help but frown. Old Ancestor Lin looked at Wolf King and said with a smile, "You can also participate in the friendly competition. We'll talk about it when the time comes." Wolf King held the Chinkuan bag in his mouth and ran upstairs. "Wait," Jiahe shouted at this time. "What?" Wolf King turned his head and looked at him unhappily. Jiahe said, "These gold coins aren't yours alone. Brother Wolf knows that Ling Brat has a share, but he definitely won't snatch it from Brother Wolf. If you have the time, you might as well go and find out about the other party's strength." Wolf King glanced at him with disdain, then turned around and ran upstairs. Swish! Jiahe flashed and landed in front of him, snatching the Chinkuan bag. "Old thing, what do you mean?" The Wolf King was enraged. "Listen carefully. These gold coins are not yours and Ling Yunfei's. They are everyone's. Everyone has a share," Jiahe said gloomily. Chapter 216. Wolf King was stunned and asked, "What did you say? Say it again." "Everyone has a share of the 300 million gold coins," Jiahe said word by word. "Why? It was Brother Wolf and Ling Brat who took action. It was also us who captured He-jun and the other two alive. You guys have been watching the show from the sidelines and want a share of the profits. Isn't that too whimsical?" Wolf King said angrily. "That's right. These gold coins should be divided equally between Wolf King and me." Ling Yunfei stood up and said. Jiahe sneered, "You can't be so selfish. Although you guys captured them alive, without us, you guys would have been killed by the three patriarchs. Forget it. With your strength, it's not enough to fill the gaps between their teeth. They are afraid of Jiang Jingyi, understand? If you want to divide, you can give Luo Qingzhu a share. As for the others, don't even think about it." Wolf King said disdainfully. Shuiyang said, "What are you being arrogant for? Even if you guys didn't take action, we could still take them down." Lin Hao said, "We just don't like to show off like you guys." Pa. Qin Feiyang slapped the table and stood up. "You can't be too greedy. It's just 300 million gold coins. I don't care much about it. I'll reward you guys to drink." "And?" Shuiyang and the others frowned. Qin Feiyang turned and walked to Wolf King's side, looking at Jiahe. "Please make way." That disdainful gaze and contemptuous tone made Jiahe's blood boil. He didn't make way. He wanted to see what Qin Feiyang could do to him. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. He grabbed Wolf King and jumped directly to the corridor on the second floor. "Ling Yunfei, there's no need to quarrel over that little bit of gold coins," he said indifferently and entered the room with Wolf King without looking back. Ling Yunfei glanced at Shuiyang and the others as a cold glint flashed in his eyes. He also leaped up to the second floor, walked into Qin Feiyang's room, and closed the door with a bang. "I don't want these gold coins. You can divide them among yourselves." Luo Qingzhu, Zhao Shuanger, and Feng Ling Er looked at each other, then got up and left. The Crown Prince and Old Ancestor Lin were silent. Shuiyang and the others were furious. The atmosphere at the scene was rather strange. Tea room. Ling Yunfei slapped the coffee table and raged. "Jiahe has gone too far. When Brother Wolf becomes stronger, I'll kill him first." Wolf King's huge eyes were filled with a terrifying, ominous glint. "Don't worry. Sooner or later, they will spit out what they have swallowed today," Qin Feiyang said with a smile. He had plenty of ways to deal with these clowns. Dong. At this moment, there was a knock on the door. The Crown Prince pushed the door open and walked into the tea room. He smiled and said, "Brother Qin, can we talk?" "Of course." Qin Feiyang nodded. The Crown Prince sat by the coffee table and glanced at the two men and the wolf. He shook his head and sighed. "I'm sorry I didn't speak up for you just now." Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "It's okay. After all, we are in Pan County now. It's normal for your highness to have scruples." The Crown Prince frowned and said, "Since Brother Qin has seen through it so clearly, why did you still offend Jiahe?" He was puzzled. Was Qin Feiyang not afraid that Jiahe would secretly do something to prevent him from returning to Yin County? "I already have a deep grudge against him. Why would I care about this time?" Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. "That's true." The Crown Prince nodded and smiled. So Brother Qin already has a plan. I was worried for nothing. I'll take my leave. Qin Feiyang nodded. The Crown Prince got up and walked out of the room, closing the door behind him. What's he doing here? Ling Yunfei frowned. He's just trying to get on our good side, Qin Feiyang said. It seems that after the lesson last time, he has restrained himself a lot. Ling Yunfei smirked. Rather than saying that he's restrained himself, it's better to say that it's the trend. Qin Feiyang pursed his lips and smiled. The Crown Prince was a sensible person. He was also someone who could not let go of things. He knew that he was the only one who could make the potential pill. If he continued to cause trouble, he would not be able to get the potential pill even if he gathered all the herbs in the future. You guys cultivate first. I'll go ask Fatso if the herbs are ready. Qin Feiyang appeared in the castle with a thought. He saw Fatso lying on the ground, grinning from ear to ear. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "From the looks of it, you must have had a good harvest." "Correct." Fatso got up and said with a smile, "Let me tell you, together with our original herbs, Fat Lord has gathered 9 sets of herbs for the potential pill." So many. Qin Feiyang was dumbfounded. Together with the original potential pill, he now had a total of 10 potential pills. He immediately opened the furnace to refine the pills. He was very careful with every step. About an hour later, in the jade box beside him, there were 10 blood-red pills lying quietly. If I auction it, how many gold coins would it be sold for? Fatso's eyes lit up. I don't think anyone can afford it. Qin Feiyang was also full of smiles. He took out another jade box and placed it on the altar. Then, he left the castle with Fatso. The jade box that he took out contained 24 supreme grade red fire-colored glass pills, because there was no place safer than the castle. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. Qin Feiyang finally broke through to 2-star martial ancestor realm. This kind of speed made the Wolf King very envious. There are still 12 days before the competition starts. Before the competition starts, I should be able to break through to 3-star martial ancestor realm. Qin Feiyang whispered, turned to look at Wolf King, and said helplessly, I envy you. Not to mention that you didn't break through, your strength soared by several levels. I'm really curious, what kind of wolf are you? Why are you so heaven-defying? Hee. Wolf King said with a sinister smile. Let me tell you a secret. In fact, Brother Wolf has been enlightened by a mysterious expert. He told Brother Wolf that Brother Wolf is a divine wolf that is rarely seen in a million years. Why don't you die? Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. At this time, Fatso came in through the window. Qin Feiyang asked, Have you found out? Wolf King also looked at it expectantly. After coming out of the castle, he asked Fatso to go to the treasure pavilion to find out if there was any martial arts that Wolf King practiced. In these 3 days, Fatso also stayed outside and didn't come back. Fatso looked at Wolf King, shook his head and sighed. The treasure pavilion doesn't have it. Wolf King's eyes were suddenly filled with disappointment. Fatso said again, But Fat Lord heard that the royal family seems to have a kind of perfect martial arts that ferocious beasts practice. I just don't know if it's suitable for Brother Wolf. Wolf King said excitedly, Then what are we waiting for? Let's go and see. Don't worry, we still have to think about it. Qin Feiyang reached out to stop Wolf King, his eyes filled with a thoughtful light. We have to discuss it properly. That Xia Qianqian hates us to the bone. If she finds out, not to mention perfect martial arts, I'm afraid it will be difficult for us to even enter the palace. Fatso said worriedly. He glanced around the room and said in surprise, Lu Hong isn't back yet? Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. It's been 3 days. What is she doing? Fatso frowned. Speak of the devil. Lu Hong pushed open the door and entered, looking travel-worn. Fatso immediately went up and asked, How many medicinal herbs did you get? Jiang Jingyi and I ran through all the major cities and got a good harvest, but I only got a few hundred. Lu Hong took out a Chinquin bag and handed it to Fatso. Fatso checked it carefully and said to Qin Feiyang, I can only gather 2 sets of medicinal herbs. That's fine too. Qin Feiyang smiled. Jiang Jingyi got 70%, which means that he has at least 5 sets of medicinal herbs for potential pills. What a pity. If one of us was a war emperor, We wouldn't have let him get such a big bargain. Fatso was very indignant. You have to know how to be content. Qin Feiyang patted his shoulder and said with a smile, Wolf King and I will go to the palace. You guys have worked hard these days, so stay here and have a good rest. Can you guys do it? Fatso was a little worried. We have to do it even if we can't. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed as he quickly left the flower brothel with Wolf King. Panwang City was also divided into 4 districts. The royal family was also in the East District. When a man and a wolf arrived at the palace gate, it was already noon. Qin Feiyang. The 2 guards at the gate were surprised when they saw Qin Feiyang and Wolf King. Why did these 2 guys come to the palace? Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and said, I'll have to trouble you 2 to inform King Pan that Qin Feiyang requests an audience. Wait a moment. One of the guards turned and ran into the palace. Not long after, the guard hurriedly ran out and said coldly, Follow me. Qin Feiyang didn't mind and followed behind the guard. Soon, they arrived in front of a throne room. Go in by yourself, the guard said indifferently and turned to leave. Wolf King said unhappily, Do we owe him money? Qin Feiyang smiled and strode into the throne room. The decoration was very luxurious, and every place showed a luxurious aura. Directly above, there was a dragon throne made of gold, looking very domineering. But Qin Feiyang could tell at a glance that it wasn't a real dragon throne, because in the entire territory, only one person was qualified to sit on the dragon throne, and that was his father, the emperor of the great Qin Empire. And the dragon throne in front of him was just a flood dragon throne. King Pan was sitting on the flood dragon throne at this moment, wearing a golden robe and a crown on his head, looking quite imposing. Qin Feiyang stood in the middle of the throne room and cupped his hands. Greetings, King Pan. King Pan asked, What's the matter? His tone was not very kind, especially when he looked at Wolf King. There was a trace of anger on his face. Wolf King said unhappily, Don't look at Brother Wolf like that. Brother Wolf didn't ask for a single word of your 300 million gold coins. And? King Pan was puzzled. Qin Feiyang didn't want to talk nonsense and said with a smile, Junior heard that Senior has a perfect martial skill cultivated by a fierce beast. I wonder if you can sell it to Junior? Martial skill. King Pan glanced at Wolf King, and a look of understanding appeared on his face. He nodded and said, I do have a martial skill that is suitable for it to cultivate, but I can't sell it to you. Please go back. Wolf King's eyes suddenly became fiery. Qin Feiyang said, No matter how high the price is, Senior, please consider it again. He had to cut the Gordian knot. Otherwise, when Xia Qianqian heard the news and rushed over, this matter would definitely be ruined. Do you think I'm a person who lacks money? However, if you can agree to one condition, not to mention selling it to you, I can even give it to you. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.